Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to lawsplaining the interwebs. I am your super rich, trust fund filled host, Warren Buffett of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today is a very special guest. We have Mr. Stan Dahlin. Howdy.
Howdy, folks.
How's it going, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, I'm terrific. I'm really excited to meet you, to have you on the show. I've talked about you when you dropped a mysterious document out of the blue, and now I get to actually ask you questions and find out more about you, and so I'm very anxious to do that.
Sure.
But first things first. There's something that I heard that's very important. I hear 1 minute ago was something more important than the show starting. Can I dox you? Can I dox that?
Sure.
It's your birthday. Just
Yes,
now.
Yes, it is.
Well, happy birthday, man. You're like 26 years old, so that's great.
And continuing, yep, and holding.
So yeah, I mean, this stream is my goal. I'll be upfront with you and with the audience. My goal on this is to kind of first I got to get to know you a little bit, because I've only heard whispers about you and then seen the affidavit and various tweets. So I want to get to know you, help the audience who may not have seen you or your other interviews get to know you a little bit. And then what I'd like to do from there is kind of talk about how you wound up involved in this giant, wonderful pile of disaster called the Vic lawsuit. And then from there, I'd kind of like to just slide into talking about your experience in the anime industry and all of that stuff. So that's kind of the agenda for the day. But if you have any questions for me or whatever, or criticisms, or I'll even take gloating praise. No, I'm just kidding. But if you have anything that you want to ask me about the suit or about what I've seen going on, feel free to drag info out of me. I'm pretty much an open book.
No, not pretty much. I mean, just say when you were at Bubba Fest, cool shorts. Cool shorts. They're cool shorts.
Oh, cool shorts. Oh, yes. Yeah, see, thank you. Somebody recognizes the value of comfortable. Those are Tommy Bahama shorts. I got so much hell for those. It's like, these are comfy. They stretch when I've eaten too much barbecue. They're perfect. But no. Rude. Bunch of rude people on the internet. Who would have thought? All right, man. So tell me a little bit about you. I guess your background, why, like, what, you have a Gundam icon. I mean, that means something. Like, all of your icons are Gundam icons that I've seen.
Well, yeah, all Gundam icons, but it's specifically the full-size live action, or not live action, the full-size mechs that were on display in Tokyo, Japan.
Oh, cool. Did you go there and see them and stuff?
Oh no, I wish I did, but no. So if I go to Japan again, I will probably go to the Gundam Museum.
They have a Gundam museum?
Yep.
Why is Japan so much more interesting than the US sometimes? But only sometimes.
Only sometimes, yeah.
Have you been to Japan?
Yes, I have.
Did you go to a maid cafe in Japan?
No, I didn't do that.
I did one of those at Matsuri. It was not what I was expecting.
Had that at KawaiiCon. We had that at Anime Week in Atlanta. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was talked about very oddly. Like, when friends and stuff would mention a maid cafe or whatever, I thought that it was going to be like a sexy type thing. Instead, it was just weird. It was like cutesy and high pitched and terrifying.
Well, then I think you would have liked in Japan a restaurant called Anna Miller's, and the tables are really short, and the waitresses wear very short skirts, so they have to bend over.
Oh my goodness. See, that's what I thought it was going to be. And so I was like preparing my wife. I'm like, these maid cafes, they're kind of weird, right? Like there's like a bunch of women dressed up as like French maids and stuff, and it's kind of strange. And then we get in there and they're like, Mama Coon, and I'm like, what is happening? This is not what I was told it was. And then we went to the Butler Cafe, and that was even weirder. So I don't know, man. Okay, sorry. This is a very awkward sort of situation for us. We were like, okay, because like the novelty was there for like a couple minutes, and then it was like, all right, this is a long time to wait for a snow cone or whatever. But yeah. So okay, so you're a Gundam fan, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite Gundam series?
The original series, and then the movie Charge Counterattack.
Okay. I've only really watched Gundam Wing, and then Gundam Wing Endless Waltz.
Yep.
So
you mentioned that before, and then also what was it? The latest, not the latest. I shouldn't say that. It's been out a long time. I can't think of the name. I think it was MS-05 Assault Team or something like that. That's not the exact title, but it's basically a bunch of Gundams who are ground troops fighting with the ground troops.
Oh, okay. Sure.
So,
because yeah, I read a Gundam book a long time ago. I mean, like 20 years ago or something, and it was all space battles, and it was like one of the first Gundam books that maybe it probably wasn't at all. I shouldn't say that. That's very silly. But the pilot was, he got his Gundam, and like the energy swords were like new, and so they could only work for like 20-30 seconds at a time and stuff, and they're killing Zaku's or whatever. It was good.
Yep.
Okay, so you have been part of this anime community for a while. Like, can you kind of go through your background on that for me? And because you've been involved in a lot of conventions, and you have kind of a long history.
Well, first, I'm an anime fan. I've been an anime fan for the longest time. My very first convention to help out with was a kind of a test convention, because me and a few friends had been doing conventions, sci-fi conventions mostly, volunteering and doing work, and then we decided, hey, we've done this long enough, and we could probably do our own anime con. And so there was already a couple of anime cons that had already been around, and Project A-Con being one of them, which I did attend and enjoyed myself immensely. It was a great time.
Wait a minute, is it Project A-Con? Is that like named after Project A-Co?
Yeah. It was a take on that.
Okay. Sorry, that was just a random tangent. Okay, sorry, go on.
You would like it. It's a silly movie. You would probably enjoy it. Project A-Co.
Oh, anyway, okay. Sure.
Anyway, so that first con was called PandaCon, and it was very intimate, and there was very few of us, and of course, the big highlight of that convention was the subtitling anime. And so everybody brought in their VCRs, and we had them all chained together, hooked up to I think it was an Amiga computer, and they did the subtitling. And we would make copies of all our subtitled anime. So that was the very first con, and that was right before we did Anime Week in Atlanta in 1995.
It's like a giant convention of illegal activity that no one cares about people doing. It's fantastic.
And watching anime for nearly 24 hours straight.
Yeah, but also like recording and distributing it.
Well, yeah,
It's
yeah,
fantastic.
and everybody moving their VCRs and trying to get the prime spot. Well, of course, the person who was hosting it got the first spot, and whoever's went in the daisy chain, you hate to be the last person.
Yeah, you definitely don't. Because so how did that work? So was it just like parallel connections to this computer?
So it went into the first VCR and out, and then daisy chain from there.
Oh my God! What a disaster!
So if you're at the end of the line, you're what, sixth, seventh, eighth gen of a videotape.
Yeah, you're stunning like 240 resolution video. It's just absolutely obliterated. I've watched some of those. Like that's how my buddies and I used to watch anime. Is they get the fan subs of them from somewhere. Like eBay didn't exist, and
Nope.
so it's like they'd have their weird ways to get a fan sub of some anime, and it was some tape that would come, has stains on it or whatever, and you put it in the VCR, and the sounds all like, it's horrid. God, it was great. Those are the days.
Oh yeah. Even watching anime straight, no dubs, no subs, just straight Japanese, and then trying to figure out. We enjoyed that, watching it that way.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine would say, back in our day, we used to watch it just in straight Japanese. So you need to get your Pokemon off my lawn.
Well, that last part is true no matter what anything else you say is. You need to get your Pokemon off my lawn is always true. Yeah. So okay, so you did the weird recording fan subbing ring thing, and then 1995 you do Anime Weekend Atlanta, right?
Very first year in the Castlegate Hotel, which is most famous for hosting all those beauty queen pageants like Jean-Benet Ramsey.
Sure. So a place that endorses the murder of children. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's a very interesting hotel. It's
Sure.
a very unique history. When we were there, people asked the staff about is there a swimming pool or a tennis court? And the staff would look at you, huh? What? And of course, it's out there. It's just covered up in tall grass.
Oh, sure.
So, and the place is a lot bigger. It's like a 2-story building, but it's like a TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside. It's a lot larger than it looks on the outside. So, any case, the show was during the World Series that was in Atlanta. It happened to be the same weekend. The Falcons were in town playing. Georgia Tech was in town playing their football game. And the hotel was triple booked. And then we're having our convention.
Wow. What kind of attendance did you pull in for that?
God, I think we hit 600.
Nice.
For a first show.
Now, was this the paint a picture of this convention for me? Is this like the convention that we see today with the vendors and all the cosplay and all that stuff, or is it more akin to a bunch of nerds sitting with VCRs chained up, or what's it look like?
We had a video room, we had a dealer's room, people cosplayed, panels, basically the same. The only difference is we had one official guest.
Oh, okay. Who was that?
His name was Robert Woodhead. At the time,
Come on,
I know
that's not a real name.
Yes, that's his name. Robert Woodhead. He was the president and CEO of Animego, the only U.S. licensed distributor in the United States at the time.
Okay, what did they? Anime Go. I recognize the name. What were they
Anime Go.
What were they distributing?
God. They had the oh god, it was such a long time ago.
Yeah,
But
I'm
they did live action Japanese TV shows
okay.
and some movies, like Lone Wolf and Cub. Um, and
Wait,
then
Lone
they had
Wolf
some
and
animation.
Cub, isn't that Samurai Assassin? Or is it Shogun Assassin or whatever?
Yeah,
In the US, they took the two movies and like chopped them together into one.
something
And
like that. Yeah.
God, that movie's great. They got the baby card of death or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah. I learned all about that from Wu-Tang, and then I watched it and I was never happier than watching that. You choose a sword, you come with me. Choose the ball, join your mother. Yeah. Oh god. Okay, so so it's like an anime convention today. You got the video room, you've got the cosplay competitions, you've got a weird phallic named guest. Um, were you basing this off of a model, or was this like a new thing, or what? Were you guys inventing cons, or were you going off of something? I have no idea how old this industry actually is, like the convention industry. So that's why I'm asking.
Well, I've been with AWA for 18 years. So, and at the time we started, I think there was only 2 anime cons. So Texas being the first one, and then one out in California, which ended up changing its name a couple of times.
Okay. So you're kind of you've kind of got a model, but you're working.
It's kind of based off of what we learned from the multi-genre conventions, the Star Trek convention or the Doctor Who convention that was in Atlanta. So it's just we just didn't bite off too much that we could chew on.
Sure. Okay, so you start with Anime Weekend Atlanta, and then you kind of move. Was it at that time that you decide, hey, we should do this like all the time? We should run anime conventions?
After the first year, we said, yeah, we just keep on doing it. But, so all of us that that ran the show, we all had our own lives and stuff like that. We weren't making anything off of this. So
Right.
whatever money was made was going back to the con to make it better. And the thing we were having problems with was trying to find a suitable hotel because AWA moved around a lot. Went north, south, east, west.
Right.
Until we finally got to where it's currently being held right now.
So you're still running. You're still running a con?
No. I left in 2013.
Okay. So up until 2013, you're doing anime cons. Was it ever a full-time job, or was it always a part-time side thing?
It was always a side thing because I was always I had my own job. I had a job. Worked for other people, and then later on, I actually owned my own anime store.
Oh, okay.
So I sold anime. I went to other conventions and sold as a dealer, and then had a physical retail store in the mall, in the convention hotel where AWA currently is. Of course, then the movie theater that was across from me went out of business, and the economy was going downhill. Viz started putting out manga, and that kind of hurt my business too because I was selling straight manga, so Japanese untranslated manga, and
Sure.
so that went under. But again, I was still working for somebody else as well as owning my store.
Gotcha.
So,
Is there like something by your microphone because there's like a weird crinkly sound going
It's probably rubbing against me.
Oh. Well, did you give the microphone consent to do that? I mean, this is 2019 after all. I mean, if you want, I know some people who can help you call that microphone out on Twitter.
All right, how's that?
It seems better. It seems better. I wasn't sure if it was like an artifact from the, like just from the internet, or if it was something, or if you were like eating candy or.
No.
Oh man, that's too bad. Okay. So, I'm sitting here thinking about going after a microphone for lack of consent. All right, so you do this thing for like till 2013. You kind of you remain an anime fan, but you're not doing the conventions anymore. You're doing your own thing. And then, are you still active though in like the convention community or the anime community outside of like as a fan? Do you attend conventions? I'm trying to figure out like how, because we're about to move into the whole you got dumped into the Vic situation, and I'm trying to figure out how jarring all of that was. Like what?
Well, just to finish up on my history here.
Yeah.
Not only was I working with AWA, I started 5 shows of my own. So KawaiiCon being the first one.
Right.
Then MizuCon in Miami. Then IzumiCon in Oklahoma City. SWACE, or Southwest Animation Convention and Expo, which was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then Anime Crossroads in Indianapolis, Indiana. So I was doing all of those conventions at the same time.
Sure. Where was IzumiCon? Was that Oklahoma, you said?
Yeah, IzumiCon is in Oklahoma.
Okay, so you got 4 cons in really warm, nice climates, and then you've got Indianapolis. Like, what happened there? That seems like a mistake was made. You pick Hawaii. Like, you pick Hawaii, Miami, Arizona. Oklahoma's also a mistake, but for different reasons. Mainly because it's like in Oklahoma. Well, just in December in Oklahoma, it's like 106 degrees. I don't know why it's so hot in that state. It's hotter there than Texas. But then
not when we were there.
Oh, really?
It was cold.
Oh man. Every time I drive through Oklahoma, we get out of the car like at a rest stop. I got to take my kids to the bathroom, and they get out and they just go, oh, it's always, because the last time we stopped was like northern Kansas or something, and now we get into, oh god, it's brutal. Oklahoma gets cold. The chat's telling me Oklahoma gets cold. I haven't ever experienced a cold Oklahoma. When were you? Okay, so it was cold there when you did the show, or?
Yeah, it was like in November.
November. Oh, well, I guess. I don't usually drive through Oklahoma in November. I try to just hobble up in a, like a cave or whatever and not come out, because I live in Minnesota, which is
colder.
It's in Dante's Inferno. It's just one of the last chapters.
Gotcha.
Right. So, okay, so you do the 5, you start 5 anime conventions, but you're no longer working with any of those.
I'm completely out of all of them.
Okay, when were you complete? Like, when did you wrap up there?
With IzumiCon, it was 2012. Then AWA 2013. KawaiiCon was 2013, I think, as well. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And pretty much all right around the same time.
Why'd you decide? I mean, I've got ideas, but why'd you decide to do a show in Hawaii? Like, that's the first one you did on your own. You're like, you know what? Let's go there.
Interesting story. My best friend, as a joke, he was drunk in a limousine in Los Angeles during Anime Expo. He calls me up and he says, "Hey, you should have a show in your hometown of Hawaii." And I said to him, I thought you were completely out of your mind. You're totally nuts. 2 days later, I call him back and said, I think I can do this.
There's a good reason to do it, right? Like you get an excuse to go hang out in Hawaii.
I get to go home and visit relatives.
Oh, wait, so you're from Hawaii?
Yes, I'm from Hawaii.
See, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes some sense. Because I'm like, how do you just decide to do a show in Hawaii? That's because Hawaii has, and pardon me if I get this wrong, but Hawaii has a little bit of a culture, a little bit of an in-group, out-group culture. And so it makes much more sense as someone who's at least from there and has ties there to be able to pull that off. I just feel like an outsider would have to spend a lot of personal capital to build up the network if they're not, if they didn't have roots there. So that makes a lot more sense to me. Than so why'd you choose Miami? No, I'm just kidding. Actually, no. Why did you choose Miami? I went there, and Miami was one of the. Aside from the food, I had really good food while I was there, but I was not a huge fan of that city.
It actually was a contract deal. Even though I did it, I was doing it for somebody else.
Sure.
So, and the very first show, and I complained heavily about it, and so did my partners, is he wanted to do the show in December before Christmas. And I'm like, are you out of your mind?
Why? Oh, God. I mean, I guess that's the only time where it's not murderously humid and hot in Miami.
I was worried about actually having anybody actually attend this show.
Right.
So luckily, we did have people attend the show, and Vic was there for the very first one. Luckily, he was available.
Yeah.
So,
good Lord. Okay, so 2013, you're out of the anime conventions. You're doing your thing. Oh, but I didn't. I guess I got to circle back to that question. Were you still active in the community? I mean, clearly you have a lot of connections in the community. You've been by 2013, you've been working with various voice actors and studios and agents and everybody for the past like 18 years. So you have to, everybody, at least a lot of everybody.
I've met a lot of them, yes.
Yeah. So did you just kind of bow out of the industry, or were you still involved on the sidelines, or what?
I helped out a friend sell his wares, or DVDs, I should say, at Anime Expo for a couple of years, and then was completely out of it.
How much hentai did you sell?
They don't sell hentai.
We were walking by. So I've been to now 3 conventions that are either anime conventions or have anime, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my wife didn't, had no idea about it. And so then we were at Bubba Fest, and they had a bunch of the, boxed. I don't even know if it was hentai in those. It could have just been regular comics or whatever. I was like, hey, you want to stop at the hentai booth? And she's like, what's hentai? I was like, oh, God. Never mind. I had to explain to her what hentai was. That was fun. Anyway, so that was a side question. Okay, so you did a couple more shows helping out, selling everybody. But largely, you're out of the community, or just enjoying anime on your own time?
Pretty much, yeah. At home, by myself. Completely cut off. I mean, every once in a while, because of my position within Anime Week in Atlanta, or AWA, we'll just say AWA, make it short and simple. And it affords me a free badge to go to that show. So I've only taken it up maybe twice. And,
how often do you show your badge?
I don't know how to take that one.
Yeah, just don't answer that one. That one's fine. That was a throwaway joke question from Ace Attorney. Just leave it be.
Wow.
Okay, so you're on your own. you're not really involved in the community. You're just enjoying living life, and then suddenly, you get mentioned by Monica Rial.
Right.
And then what happens? Like, what happened next? That's very...
Well, first what happened was a family member gets an email from somebody asking, and the way it was written like a journalist, and asking about, what do you know about this case? And would you please comment on it? And they forwarded it over to me, and I'm looking at it like, what the hell is this?
So who, without, okay, no names, but what is the person sending you this email? You said like a journalist, so you're saying it's not from a journalist?
It's written like a journalist, but the person's using a Gmail account, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know who this person is, and they didn't sign it.
Okay. So you get a random email like, here, I have, hello, sir. I would cordially invite you to answer these very interesting questions. What do you know about this case? Right? So you get asked about the case, and you had no idea this case is going on at the time, or what?
I was completely radio silent. I mean, I dropped off. I mean, I was on Facebook, not on Twitter, even though I have an account on Twitter, and just nothing popped up. And
Sure.
I wasn't going to read ANN because I know what a trash fire they are to begin with.
What are you talking about? ANN had that really good article about those Dragon Ball leaks, where the voice actors were recording using Toei's IP, and they were recording dirty scenes, and like a whole bunch of people reported on it. And Anime News Network was right up at the top. They had all those zero stories about it. they're
right
a bastion.
IO9 too.
They're a bastion of integrity and solid journalism. How dare you, sir? My favorite thing out of that, by the way, is hashtag justice for Dende. Did you that one? I think poor Dende. He didn't deserve that. Guru's gross. Okay, so you get this email. You have a Twitter, but you haven't seen it on Twitter. You show up on Twitter shortly after Monica names you, because she named you in the affidavit, right? I don't think she named you prior to that.
The document they sent me was a screenshot of the interrogatory.
The interrogatory. 4. That's right. That's where she first names you. Because in her story on Twitter, I don't think she mentions you.
No, she doesn't.
And then in the interrogatory response, she says that you saw her. And then in her affidavit, she says something she says something different, but it involved you. It was like a little bit different part of the or different take on the story. Like in one, you see her and she leaves the room right when you show up, and then the other, she'd like covered her face and you couldn't see her or something. It's very weird.
Yeah. So I received that, so I go onto Facebook and I make mention why was I named in the legal document, and then I get replies from my friends, and they said, I saw that too. I'm like, well, gee, thanks, friends, for letting me know about this.
Right. Because Vic, you know Monica, and then of course you're gonna know other people who are involved in the situation, and no one told you at all. No one's like, oh, by the way,
no one, not the guy who works at volunteers with MomoCon, which is the other Atlanta con,
sure,
or the director of events at AWA. He didn't say anything. And those are the two that reply to my post.
Right.
So I'm like, well, gee, thanks for letting me know about it. So then that's when I go over Twitter and I started posting. from what I'm seeing, and that's where I I see the lawsuit, and I'm like, what is going on? Why are you guys fighting?
Yeah, your post was something like, "Wow, I come back to Twitter and I see my friends are fighting." Something like that, if I remember right. It was
Something close.
yeah, it was very interesting. Well, let's take a pause here. There's some super chats I want to make sure and read in case there's any questions that are for you and I, and so we can stay on top of those. And then we'll pick back up there with you coming back on Twitter. And if you don't mind, we'll talk about that. And then I'd like to talk about, I guess, what you remember from that night and all that stuff.
Sure.
And how that has gone for you, because it's always nice. Wes Nile Chan says, Nick, the deep fakes of the judge hog slamming Rial and Markey are in your Dropbox for next week. Oh, thank you. AI is so good now. Please pay my usual fee in Kurgarans from the G, and have Ty drop them at the Alba Varden in the port of Houston. Hi, Stan. So that's as you know, that's the actual purpose of the GoFundMe, is we're funding the AI deep fakes to hold over the judge. That's what's actually been going on. Well, that and eating a bunch of tendies. Raven Nighty says, Aloha Stan. When you get back home for HawaiiCon, do me a favor. Are you going to be at HawaiiCon?
No, unfortunately, no.
Dang it. No, you got to go. I got to meet you. I'm going to be there.
Oh, so you're taking Lady Rackets with you?
Yeah, Lady Rackets and I are going to HawaiiCon.
Well, please enjoy yourself.
We will. But now that I know that it's close to home, you gotta get over there. You have no excuse. I'm just kidding. Do me a favor. Wave at the ocean. Give Madame Pele to Shaka and tell her I miss her.
Will do.
Sefi, what island do you call home?
I was born and raised on Oahu.
Okay, gotcha. I've never been to Oahu. I've been to Maui and Kona, and that's it.
So you've been to Maui and the Big Island.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I go to Oahu?
Well, when people ask me, when they find out I'm from Hawaii and they ask me, oh, I'm going to go to Hawaii, what do you recommend? I always ask them, you want more civilization or less civilization?
I always care about food. Maui has really good food.
Maui has really good food. Big Island has some good food, and so does Oahu. But the question is, do you want to be with a lot of people or less people?
Usually less. That's how.
Well, then your choices become very obvious.
Yeah. I do want to go to Pearl Harbor. So one trip over there, I'm gonna at least take like a day trip over to Oahu, but to go to Pearl Harbor, but. On Kona, they used to have this restaurant called Three Fat Pigs. And it's gone now from what I hear. But man, they had, I went there and I got a pork belly sandwich, which was delicious. Mm-hmm. And so then I went back for dinner and I got the 1 pound broiled pork belly. Oh my God. Wow. It was so good. Anyway, Hawaii is the land of pork and I love it. So sorry. Back to these questions. Sefi Hakubi says, looking forward to this for a while. I've known Stan since 2006. He's a no-nonsense yet fair con chair. It's been a while, but I'm down for one more ride if it means standing up to the gatekeeping in anime. Happy birthday, you fogey.
Thank you very much.
Are you ever going to do another convention?
It's not like it used to be. I mean, it's a lot harder to start one up.
What about like a BoomerCon in Minnesota or something? Since I now hear that I can outsource a con to a professional.
The thing with most con owners is that I'm a working owner, so I'm on the floor and I'm working.
Right.
And I know a lot of other owners that they delegate the task out, and the only difference is I'm working it. So
So what do you do working the floor at a con? Like you're just around solving problems and making sure things are happening, or
being that I was a guest relations director for AWA, that was what I was doing at my own shows. I was taking care of the guests and getting them from where they need to be and making sure everything was running smoothly with them and their autograph sessions and whatnot. So I can say that if I'm not watching Vic closely, he will, and he has done, particularly at QuadCon. He found it an interesting way of creating an autograph line out of nowhere. In this case, it was in the dealer's room, and it's claustrophobic already. And he found this dealer who was doing photo flip books. So he was encouraging people to come over to the booth, and he would say, get this photo flip book with me. I'll be in it with you.
Sure.
And of course, he's grifting for the photo booth guy.
The grift is strong with this one. So you're saying this was before, because there was some point where voice actors were not charging they weren't doing like the charge for pictures and signatures and all that stuff. So this is before that, or this is just like he's just
what his thing?
Yeah.
No, this was well after that.
Okay, he's just creating a line.
He just created a line out of nowhere,
just to cause
in
trouble.
The dealer's room. Oh yeah, it was So we had to get over there and extra staff to
see. This is what I've
get this line, so that people can walk through there.
This is what I've heard over and over about Vic. Absolutely horrifying and atrocious that he just takes advantage of people and creates lines in places. Rude to create. No one likes lines, and there he is making them.
Yep. And in my philosophy in my shows were, I don't want any lines if I don't have, if I can get away with it, other than autographs.
Right.
But going into panel rooms and stuff like that, no lines.
Sure.
So it's like there's no reason to shut off this room. When people allow them to come in and out. It's like we're not, stopping off and closing it off, except for maybe a Japanese guest. You don't want to have people coming in and all the time, because usually they're not there for that guest. They're usually for the person who's coming after them, and to be not rude to the Japanese guests.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Because it's very distracting.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, Chris Gonzalez says, yo, can't watch live, work and stuff. Just needed to drop in for the grift. Hey, Stan, I'll rewatch tomorrow. Ron Toye is a C-U-C-K. So there you go. Tucker says, commenting to make sure Transcriber Kun gets paid tonight. By the way, Ron's a cuck, and he should sue me if he can. So that's from Tucker. Tucker also says, were you eating jelly beans, Stan?
No.
I mean, you said your mic was assaulting you, but I think we know the truth. Raven Knight, Nighty, I'm going to say Nighty again, says, Nick, good grief, it's Nighty, pronounced night, not nighty. The E is silent. Also, Stan, mahalo, brah. So there you go. So that's for you. Okay, so that's the chats we have so far, and that's so let's get back to it. So you see this thing, you pop up on Facebook, and then or pop up on Facebook and Twitter. You're asking questions, and then I see your tweet, and then not too long later, I see a Stan Dahlin affidavit, right? Like that shows up pretty quick after the tweet. So do you want to talk about like what I guess what drove you to provide an affidavit, or what the scoop was there? Like what happened? Like, so you see this thing, you don't know what's going on, you get told what's going on, and then you for some reason decide that you need to say something about it. So do you want to talk about that at all?
Well, after I got that note from the so-called journalist, and I read it, I basically said, I don't know what she's talking about. And then checking online and seeing what's going on, and then catching various YouTube shows, and then seeing Vic's video deposition, and I'm commenting on it. Lo and behold, I get a private message from Monica on July 11th saying, "I'm sorry, Stan, about all this stuff. Should have told you before. My lawyer will probably contact you." And at that point, Vic texts me and says, "Will you talk to Ty, his lawyer?"
Sure.
And I text back and I said, "Sure."
Gotcha.
Ty calls. Well, I get on the phone with Ty, and we have a conversation about the situation, and he asked me pertinent questions, and I told him what I know about it, and basically what I know about it is that I don't know anything about it. I don't remember going to Vic's room. I basically said to him, when she mentions Azumi-Con and it's 2007, my first thought was, okay, which hotel was this at? Because Azumi-Con, when I was with them, was only at two hotels. So It was like, was it the first one or the latter 3 or 4 that I was with them? So, and as soon as I started, doing more research to figure out which show they were at, because I had nothing on me. Excuse me. I had nothing available, document-wise, to say who was there, when it was, where it was, until I came across a receipt for an airline ticket. And then I was like, okay, my wife was with me. All right, that narrows it down. And I was trying to look up on animecons.com, because it lists all the past conventions and stuff like that, who was there, and to get a general idea where the show was. But the site was crapping out and timing out, and couldn't get anything from there. So I kept looking around the house until I figured out that it was the first hotel, the very first convention. And then I remembered who was there. And yes, Monica and Vic were there.
Right.
Chris Sabat supposedly was there. A couple of other funny VAs were there.
Sure.
And then I remembered they had an indoor pool. The hotel had an indoor pool, which reeked of chlorine. I mean,
it was
very strong. Oh, it was very strong. And then
I love those.
Then stuff starts coming back to me. I'm like, okay, I remember the convention. I remember what was going on, all the wonderful things that happened before the con, during the con, after the con, particularly the day I'm leaving the con. The hotel. The hotel is moving in new mattresses. My hotel room during the whole weekend reeked. It was god awful smelly.
Had they just painted it?
No, it was like mold, mildew kind of smell. So we had, the wife went out with another friend of ours, and we hit Walmart and grabbed some candles and stuff like that to make the room smell better.
The worst for me, we were driving from Minnesota down to Texas and took a late night stop. And normally we stay at a little bit nicer place, but this we were getting somewhere at 3 a.m. and we were getting up at 8 and driving on. And so we stayed at like a Motel 6, and they had just painted, and it was the worst night's sleep I ever had. They had just painted like the entire hotel. So it all smelled like paint. Oh God, it was nasty. Sorry, go on. That just triggered me. It brought up my trauma.
and that's and that's the process of, that's how I remember the show. Little things triggered another thing that triggered another thing, and I remembered maybe I shouldn't use trigger, but
how dare you? This is current year. But yeah, so you're picking up the details. As you're examining,
and
things.
The one detail that still does not come back is me going to Vic's room, and seeing Monica.
I mean, I have a feeling why that's not coming back to you. But just so you know, in your honor, I'm drinking Peniolo whiskey. So.
Blind whiskey.
Oh yeah, this is good stuff. This is from this distilled in Maui, right next to the Maui Gold. Well, at least where you load up for the Maui Gold plantation tour. There's a distillery.
Pineapples.
Right there. Yeah.
Yep.
This stuff's good though. So you end up not recalling any of this event. What about like the dinner and stuff that they talked about?
It's a typical thing that we do, but I don't remember the dinner.
Sure.
I don't know where we went.
Now, in your affidavit, you said something that's pretty interesting. You said, "And I would, if this had happened, I would have remembered that. I would have not invited them back to the same convention. You would have taken some measures." Do you want to talk about? Oh, excuse me. Do you want to talk about that at all?
I mean, I don't like drama. I mean, I've seen a lot of drama working conventions. Most of it is all behind the scenes. Nothing really serious. And particularly the ones that I completely miss, like Jesse Pridemore getting kicked out of the green room for stalking Todd Habercorn at AWA.
Wait a minute. That happened?
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic. Sorry, go on.
So, I wouldn't put up with that. So,
yeah, because it disrupts the show.
And that's from both sides. If Vic did something wrong, then I would let him know that I don't appreciate that kind of behavior. Because I know that from other voice actor, alleged voice actors doing picking up underage girls and taking them to the hotel room, but those were allegations. But it was serious enough that some people, con orders, have investigated it. So
have you ever had to deal with any like of these types of allegations? I mean, the way some people talk on Twitter, it's like basically what I've learned about anime conventions from Twitter, it's that everyone is getting raped constantly. So have you ever had, but no one ever reports any of it, is the other thing. So I'm wondering, as a con owner, did you have to deal with this type of stuff very often? Like these allegations of inappropriate touching or communications or assault or anything like that?
No. I mean, other than that, that one young teen who accused Greg Ayers of raping her. during a show, and that was totally false.
What was that? That was one of your shows?
It was at AWA.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But nothing else really.
No, mostly it's just drama. People
People
not
are
liking
mad.
the other.
A voice actor's rude. A staff member did something that they weren't supposed to do. Stuff like that. Just the petty day-to-day operations of pretty much any business is what you normally see. Conflicts between staff and customers and vendors, basically.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to ban anyone from a con, from one of your cons that you know of?
Yes, I had a ban list.
Yeah, I don't suppose you want to talk about it though.
I mean, one person from the comics industry and 3 people from the anime side. Nothing, not rape or anything.
Nothing
like that.
salacious.
No, just one person is just extremely rude and nasty, vile person to begin with. No sense of humor on top of that.
Sure.
And then the other 3, they're just terrible, just plain terrible human beings.
Oh, I love it. That makes
terrible
me happy.
guess.
What about, so you as a convention owner, I assume you talk to other convention owners. What have you heard? Because I've heard of a couple people being banned, and one I'm really curious about. There's an agent for several Funimation people that was banned. Do you know anything about that guy? Or anything about that?
I avoid, if I can, middlemen as much as possible.
Yeah, middlemen are terrible people, just like lawyers. So I don't blame you. Yeah, I've got. I'm trying to firm up something, but I've heard of a very particular agent who I'm very curious to hear more about because I've heard that this particular agent was banned for being very much a hound dog. We'll say at several conventions. So, but
no, the only problem I had with a middleman who's particularly what he was 4 funny actors, and the problem I had with him was not only was I bringing his talent, his guest, or to be my guest actually, but I had to bring him too. I had to put him in a hotel and give him airfare, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, who's coming to see you? Who are you who are you bringing in the door and selling tickets? Who's buying tickets to see you? That's
it's like no, I have to be there to make sure that you guys are doing it. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. So, how common is banning in the industry? Like realistically, because one of the things that keeps popping up in the Vic case, there's this person. I'm like barely even allowed to talk about her because of the mental handicaps. But I've got a pseudonym for her, and it's Manjaw, who talks constantly about Vic being banned from all these conventions. But I don't ever see any evidence of him being banned, and I see him going back to the conventions that this person says he's banned from. So,
and this is from a person who doesn't have a position of authority. It's just a volunteer staffer.
Well, I don't know. They certainly represent that they were like head of security or something, and that they're
still, it's not in my book. It's still not a head person,
right? Because they're not running the con.
No.
And they're just randomly saying, well, he must have been banned because he didn't show up this year. But then the next year he does show up. And then they're like, wow, why was he back from the ban? So
besides that, in my understanding, and this is for me, from what my interaction with some con owners and operators is that if you have a ban list, you don't talk about the ban list. You just implement your ban list and you move on, because you don't want to draw more attention, negative attention to your show.
Sure. On that note, have you ever gotten a complaint about Vic?
People who don't like his fans.
People who don't like his fans.
Yes.
So they don't like the fact that there's a line of people waiting for Vic. Or is it something different about his fans that they don't like?
They just don't like his fans. They don't like, regardless of whether they're going to be in line. It's just that their fans, his fans, going around the con and getting in the way. And I basically say, well, then don't go anywhere where Vic is. Enjoy the show.
Yeah, that's a weird complaint. Like I'm not processing what. So there's someone there. Are they? Oh, excuse me. Are they doing something disruptive? The fans.
After a couple of emails back and forth, or actually this was on the forum board, we finally get to the point that they just don't like his exuberant fans. Okay.
See, this is making sense to me now. I get it. Okay, so let's get back kind of we're sidetracking because I have some sort of attention deficit disorder.
And lots of questions.
Yeah, and lots of questions because I'm trying to learn all this, right? Mm-hmm. Like I talked about this, and then a bunch of people wanted my input. People asked me to make the GoFundMe, so I do these things, and then it's now like this giant snow boulder, right? It started with a snowflake, and now it's this huge thing thundering down a mountain. And I'm still trying to learn the industry as I go because I'm such an outsider to it, and I'm trying to piece that stuff together. So thank you for indulging me on
Sure.
On a lot of these questions. So you insert yourself you talk to Ty, you produce an affidavit. The affidavit basically says, I don't remember any of that, but if something like that happened, I would remember it. And you would.
And I would have acted on it.
Yeah, and you would have acted on it. So what happens next for you? Because I think that was the beginning step of an interesting path that you probably didn't expect.
Just me personally, I just sit back and watch.
Sure.
I mean, nothing really, transpired other than the fact that I let my work know that, hey, I'm a part of this case and it might get ugly. And I'm just giving you advance warning.
Right. So then it's mostly quiet. Things are kind of trucking along. You're observing. But we come to yesterday. And yesterday, well, you go on Tug's stream a couple days back, right?
Yeah.
What day was that? Was that Saturday or something? Sunday? Was it over the weekend?
No, I think it was over the middle of the week. I think it was like a Tuesday or something like that.
Okay. I can't remember. Last week and this weekend are such a blur for me because I was all over the place. I was in Texas and I was back up in Minnesota at a party, but I wasn't home and it was just a mess. Okay, so you go on Tug's stream, and then yesterday you made some sort of tweet, and then suddenly you have the attention of a whole lot of people, and they're coming at you on Twitter, right? Is that accurate?
Pretty much. Yep, they just came out of the woodworks with their knives out.
Yeah. Now, am I right? I mean, do you know, are a lot of these people from something? There's, I don't know if you know this, but there's this anus of the internet called Law Twitter. Are some of them from there? Because I think I saw some stuff from there.
And there was a lot of lawyer Twitters out there that that I have never seen before, and that
right,
that
and they're
came
suddenly
out and reared their ugly heads.
Now, what's interesting about Law Twitter that I've learned is they are the most disinterested people on earth who tweet hundreds of times a day about this subject. They don't care at all about it. They've told me over and over that they are unbiased, uninvested, and completely disinterested as they tweet about it hundreds of times a day. So they come out. I think I saw one post from Mike Dunford about you, and I was like, oh God, I'm so sorry, Stan. That's all I could think. But
well, here's the thing about Twitter and me. Since I haven't been on Twitter that much, I think the most I've ever tweeted out total is 356 times.
Yeah,
that's it, 356 times. And
for some of these guys, that's a day. For one of them, that's a morning. Can you imagine?
The thread knot? Yeah. So low T Greg. So
I'm glad that it's made its way to you.
Here's the interesting thing is when they tweet at me, guess what? I'm not reading it. I'm not seeing it. So
you don't even know what's going on. Like you just suddenly look at your phone. There's like 10,000 Twitter notifications, and you're like, whatever.
No. It's never on my phone.
Oh, attaboy. See, you're smarter than I am. Because mine's on my phone.
So
all day, just bzz, 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 bzz.
Yep, and that's why it's not on my phone.
Wes Nile-chan says some questions for Stan. Are you aware of Shane Holmberg's rep in the con running circles?
I don't even know who Shane Holmberg is.
So you're not joking right now. You have no idea who Shane Holmberg is?
I have no idea who that person is.
You've never heard of Shane Holmberg?
Never met him. I don't know what shows he runs. Supposedly he runs. So, no, I don't know who he is.
Have you ever been to Texas?
Yes.
When you went to Texas, did you lose any shoes? These are unrelated questions, completely random.
I took my shoes home with me.
Okay. Did you have to rub your shoes in anything that's awful smelling or tasting to preserve them or save them from any perceived dangers while you were in Texas? These are the very important questions.
No.
Have you? Okay, but be honest. So you have no idea who Shane is, but do you now know who Shane is? Have you watched that video where I had him on for an interview?
Yes, and
okay.
I don't know what he was thinking.
Yeah, me either. I still don't. But okay, so you're aware of him now, but in the context of the con community, you've never heard of this guy. No idea what he does.
No.
I've heard he was kind of a big deal, according to him. So
maybe, but not in my circle.
Right, not where you run. So number 2 from West Nile-chan is: if you had to eat a shoe, what type of shoe would it be?
For my blalas, that's local speak. My blalas, it would be my slipper.
Okay, so you'd eat that. And then 3, what is the state of the chair you're sitting in?
Upright.
So, well, yeah, it's upright, but I mean, does your chair look like it belongs in a commercial with Sarah McLachlan? And it needs rescuing or witness protection or anything, or is your chair in pretty good shape?
It is in pretty good shape, other than the creak.
It's got a creak, but it doesn't look like Hannibal Lecter came in and peeled off some of it for a meal or anything like that. Okay.
No.
Thank you, West Nile-chan, for those illuminating questions. They were very helpful. So, okay, so you've dropped this affidavit. You've been catching up on the lawsuit. You mentioned watching YouTube videos. You've gone on Tug's stream. You're here on my stream. I guess, what are your thoughts on this whole thing, man? Where you've got a different perspective on it than the rest of us. So where do you fall on that?
I'm trying to figure out why, the reason why Monica felt that she needed to trash fire Vic, other than her supposed allegations.
Now, do you
And
give
why she had to make it so damn public.
do you give any credit to those allegations? I mean, I've been trying, like genuinely, since this whole thing started. I'm like constantly, I'm like, where is something to back this up? Something. And I can't find it. But you're a guy who's been with them, presumably both before and after. Like you said, you would have never booked them at other shows if you had known this happened. But that implies that you have booked them at shows after the 2007 AzumiCon. And so you've interacted with them after this. And I mean, you were completely unaware of anything, I assume.
So, I'm with these guests before the show, during the show, and after the show. So I know what they think and say about each other because they've said it
Right
out loud. Particularly when I'm in the vehicle driving them from here to there, or in the green room, or if we're out and about touring the city and whatnot. I've heard them, but none of what they said raises to the level of assault or rape.
But to be clear, I mean, you've heard, and you don't have to get into specifics here, but you've heard voice actors slagging other voice actors, guests slagging other guests, but you're saying never in the context of like the sexual assault type stuff. But you've heard negative comments from voice actor to voice actor, which is, I mean, that seems normal. It doesn't matter if I worked with my best friend, I would have negative stuff to say about them.
That's right. I mean, it's all the funny actors that seem to be all have one thing in common. They dislike Vic.
So they don't like him.
No.
That's interesting. I mean, I agree. That's the same thing I've heard. But the public perception has always been that they're all friends, right? Like, oh yeah, they give hugs. They're very loud and woo, I'm here with my friend. Like that's a thing that you see in the leaked videos, or not leaked videos, but the unearthed videos that have come out of all of this is this constant theme of a public face of friendship. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
No.
And
I like the fact that she picked me, knowing I don't know if it was calculated or what, because I haven't been in the convention scene, been gone, virtually, silent.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you almost kind of wonder if she thought maybe you would not pop up to say anything about it at all.
Well,
But,
wow.
Yeah,
not wrong.
Right. Clearly, history has shown the error of her ways. So let me kind of tie that back to something. You said that she at some point reaches out to you by email, but that's after you tweet about it. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so she mentions you.
So I can give you a better timeline. So
yeah, that'd be great.
June 24th is when, roughly around, that's when Jay-Sean amends that legal document and submits it. And then I find out about it around July 1st or so. And then the depositions come out. And then July 11th is when she hits me up to say that, my lawyer will contact you.
Mm-hmm.
And that corresponds with a tweet that I posted about where I say I'm not sure how I feel about the latest developments
Right.
in this case.
Did you watch those deposition videos?
I did.
How did you ignoring the jackhole who was commenting on him? How did you feel about, like, what did you how do I word this? I'm trying to word this as neutrally as possible. What were your impressions, I guess, of you got Vic, you've got Ron, and you've got Monica. What were your impressions of them?
Well, with Vic, I mean that's normally how he talks. I mean, when he's not doing conventions and stuff like that, when he's just a bit more more serious. I've seen him when he was angry, and that's pretty close to what it looked like. Not really raised voiced or anything like that. He is a emotional, passionate person. Very talented,
Right.
self-taught musician. So yeah, that's how I remember him. Monica, the way she talks, that's typically how she talks, and it's just her facial expressions give away what she's really thinking and feeling.
Sure. What about Ron? What were your impressions of him?
I've only met him once. Um, when she told me that, she found a new love in her life, and I was happy for her.
Right.
And then I met him, and he seemed like a decent person. Um, and it was during a con, and but they were, what was odd was they were very distant from everybody else. So it wasn't the typical kind of convention that I would like to have with our guests. Having all of them together, and to be more of a family type unit, and not try to force anything on everybody, but at least enjoy the time together, and while at the show. But they pretty much were off by themselves most of the time,
That had
away
to
from everybody.
be one of your last shows, right?
Yes.
Because their relationship would have started about the time you were getting out of the industry.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'd only met him the one time, but what was your impression of him from the video?
I'm like, he was like, who is this person? Because he's not like what I first met him.
Sure. Yeah,
but
it
then
was.
It's like, snarky, and
He felt, to me, he felt very anxious. He seemed skittish almost. Is a weird way to put it, but he was animated. It felt like his blood was up the entire time, like in a defensive mode, very, very defensive.
Probably if he was wired up, you would probably see elevated heart rate. And
yeah. But it was interesting. You could definitely tell who the actors were, right? Like Vic and Monica were able to kind of keep themselves centered and controlled to some extent. Man, the line that stuck out for me from Monica's, though, was where she mentions Vic's name being on a DVD box set and her name isn't, and she had a quote unquote bigger character than him. God, that line stuck with me quite a bit. But
that just raised more questions, because I'm like, I don't remember any voice actor getting any type of credit on a package, on an IP.
Yeah. Now,
visible.
I mean, let's be clear. Every single picture I've seen of that DVD box set or whatever doesn't have anybody listed, or what? Like neither of them are on there. But that was to me, that solidified some things that I wasn't giving a lot of credit to. The whole jealousy angle of all of this, because that's one of the theories that's out there, right? Is that they're very jealous of Vic's success. They're jealous of his relationship with fans. They're jealous of the money he's got to be making at cons. We've seen in the filings that even this year at cons, the ones he does go to, he makes a good amount of money. So we can kind of see that there might be some reasons to be jealous, but I don't think of trying to absolutely annihilate someone's career and life out of jealousy. That doesn't enter into my normal function. But man, that line sold me a little bit further on that one. But that was that was a weird one. But okay, so let's see. So you've gone, you've made your statement. Now I guess you're just kind of waiting. Like, you have to know that it's possible that they'll try and call you in to talk to you. If this thing moves on, right? They might try and bring you into a courtroom to say, tell me about your affidavit.
My wife has already expressed that my answer should be hell no.
Yeah, it's not. She sounds like a wise lady, to be very fair. But so what? I guess what's next for Stan? Like, where do you go from this? Are you trying to get back into the industry? Are you just out of it for good? I mean, it's all this has to be weird for you, right? Like, because you're out, and then what? It's 2013, so 6 years later, 6 years after you've done a show, suddenly your name pops up, and you make a couple tweets, and some days you're a hero to some people. The next days you're the villain of a bunch of impotent lawyers. Like, what's going? Like, what do you do with all this?
Personally, I have the same opinion as like Erica had mentioned on a couple of other YouTubers. I mean, I don't need Twitter.
Right.
It's not part of my life, and I can just ride off into the sunset and not worry about the rest of these folks. I'd rather them have to get along and get over it and move on. I mean, because the way I see, even though I'm out of the anime scene, I keep tabs and just to see what's trending out there. And the thing is, Hulu and Amazon, and particularly Netflix, have gotten into the anime scene, and they're buying up all the properties.
Yeah, they have more money. I think that was probably, if I can credit Funimation with one very good decision, it was selling to Sony when they did. Because I think another year or two, and they're going to lose to Netflix, to Amazon. They're going to lose to these production companies, YouTube Premium or YouTube Red or whatever. They're going to come out, and they're going to buy these properties up, and they have infinity money, and Funimation has zero comparatively.
Yeah, well, it was great for the CEO of Funny, because then he can get out of it and not have to worry about what property he's going to be able to license, because it's going to everybody else, other people with big money. So, but then that leaves open all these new smaller companies who are not going to attract much attention, because they don't have enough clout with to attract Netflix or Amazon, and that's going to go to the smaller players like Sentai Filmworks,
Sure. What do you think? So, what do you think is the future for Funimation? I mean, because they get picked up by Sony. I've been trying to noodle this out lately, and I think I'm trying to figure out if Sony bought Funimation for Dragon Ball, like almost exclusively. Like they see Dragon Ball Super's going to get another season. Super was popular. The Broly movie's very popular, so they're like, oh, okay. Japan is ramping up on this production of this very big property. I think they look at Funimation and say, we can do better marketing and distributing this property than they have, and we can make a lot more money out of it. So they buy up Funimation. Any thoughts on that? Because I'm just spitballing here. I'm trying to figure out.
That's like a one-show pony.
Yeah.
If that's all you got is Dragon Ball, I mean,
but Dragon Ball's
your streaming service sucks. So,
but Dragon Ball is massively valuable, right? Like,
yeah.
It's a huge property. So I think that's
so if they end up renewing, I can see Toei saying, okay, because of the recent events and stuff like that, we're going to ask for more money.
Yeah. Now those recent events, I don't think they were planning in early 2018 when they were negotiating the deal. I don't think they saw it coming. But I think it's very interesting. And I know a lot of people are looking into Funimation's books now that they're public as part of Sony, and they're finding some very weird things. So I'm trying to gather some info on that myself, because I think there's a lot of stories to Funimation that haven't been told yet. But I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts or opinions on that.
No, I don't have any knowledge on that.
Someone says Crunchyroll and Viz Media just merged after a meeting with Toei.
Yeah, I think that just recently happened.
Yeah, because didn't they? I mean, wasn't Toei was just here for San Japan,
right?
Did Crunchyroll and Viz merge after that? That would have been just like in the past couple of weeks.
I mean, it must have the ball must have been in the works long before San Japan, and then to make that announcement.
Yeah, they tie up the shoestrings and walk on. Very interesting. So you're not trying to get back. Sorry, getting back to the question. You're not really trying to get back.
Not really trying to get back to it. No,
into the
not
industry.
Really. I mean, I'm helping indirectly, other shows, helping them get their start, but I'm not any way associated with them or being a part of their show in a physical manner.
Sure. What do you think of this this cancel culture? And I guess how does that? Because you're doing shows from 95 to 2013. You get out right before this we're gonna call up and cancel your show. We're gonna get 300 people from Twitter to send more email to this venue than they've gotten in the past year, from the same couple people, and get your show canceled. You got out right before that really takes off, right? Like, did you see anything like that in your day?
The beginnings of that was what they call it. Had to do with cosplayers and
yeah, cosplay is not consent.
Cosplay is not consent. Yeah, that.
And that was like, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going off of sheer memory here. That was around like 2010, something like that, kind of.
Yeah, it's actually started the year before that, and then it was really pushed by conventions the following year, because all of us got on board with it and started promoting it.
Okay, so that's Now that's a policy of just because someone's in cosplay doesn't give you permission to take their picture, right? Is that what that is?
Or is it other stuff?
And like not go up and touch them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. I don't believe anybody should be touched without consent or anything like that. But what prompts you as a convention, as a venue, to go ahead and like say not only are we going to implement these policies of safety for our guests, but we're gonna actively promote this mimetic line, cosplay is not consent. Like, because you say you all kind of bought into it, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So what brings you into that? But
not to the level of what Shane was talking about for his new show.
No. And this isn't like criticism. Like the idea,
right.
Obviously, cosplay is not consent to walk up and grab someone's breasts or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like the idea of adopting this slogan that kind of storms like someone comes up with a witty line, right? Cosplay is not consent. It's got some alliteration in it. It's got some assonance in it. So and it flows well. So it catches. But what like prompts you to say, yes, we not only do we have these policies already, but we're going to affirm this line or this movement? Was there anything that went into that? Or are you guys just like, yeah, no kidding, it's not? Like, I'm trying to figure out how that works.
It's sort of an increase in incidents where just random I will have to say guys because it was guys,
sure,
that were basically, getting their photos, and then when either the convention itself or the cosplayer says, no to photography, for various reasons like safety, because AWA, we have constantly have to go after people like, this is not the area to do photography, and it's like right in front of an exit door.
Sure. Because that's a fire hazard. That's a general safety hazard.
Yeah, and and the way the hotel is laid out, there are some areas where it's a serious bottleneck. Everybody is moving through that corridor, and they're taking pictures right in that corridor, blocking the way. So it's like, okay, we need to police this a bit more and get people to get out of the area, go somewhere else. But then some other cosplayers are complaining about touchy, grabby photographers. And
sure. Have you ever met Dominique Sky?
No.
Have you ever heard the term con slut?
Yes.
You have heard that term?
Yes.
Outside of the deposition?
Yes.
Who said it? Come on, Stan. Hit me with it.
Who said it?
Yeah, who's walking around saying con slut?
I don't know of anybody who actually verbally addresses it.
Okay, so you're just saying you've put it together, the idea of the con slut as a concept is familiar, but you don't know who's actually walked around saying con slut.
I don't know. I've never heard anybody verbally say that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Has anyone written down the word con slut in your presence?
No.
We're getting into Inquisition now. Has anyone texted you con slut? We're getting legalistic on this. I want to know where that question came from. That's what I really want to know. Because Lemoyne, obviously this is
I don't know, maybe Dominic Sky came from.
It's from Vic's deposition, right? And Lemoyne flatly asks Vic, have you ever called someone a con slut or something like that? And then he says, where my hose at? And Vic looks absolutely mortified. absolutely mortified.
He should.
Right, because I mean, I don't know Vic as well as a lot of people, but I've met him, I've talked to him, both at shows and after shows at like Bubba Fest and Anime Matsuri or whatever. I've gotten to spend a little time where he's in unwind mode, and I don't get the impression that he would ever use that phrase. Like, even if he actually thought it, I don't think that would come out of his mouth. That just seems very foreign. And that's what the impression I got from the deposition when he looks at him like, oh my God, no. That blew me away.
Yep.
So you've never heard that term, like actually audibly spoken, that you can recall anyway?
Never.
Most importantly, would you remember it if you heard it? Oh gosh. But you get the concept. And is that like a real problem? Like, is there, because so we're here talking about cosplay is not consent, which I think just about anybody agrees that, oh, well, she's dressed up like Slave Leia doesn't mean you get to strap a chain around her neck, take her home into your rape dungeon. Like, that's I don't think anybody's on that level. And if you are, get help, Elliot Roger. No, I don't think that's that anyone's there. But there is this, how do I word this nicely? There's a contingent of people who I believe, and I have seen some of this, where they'll throw on a cosplay outfit, they'll take on a very flirty attitude, and they'll use that to try and gain something from cons. Have you witnessed that before? Like, when I say from cons, I mean from guests at cons, typically. I can give you an example. For example, I put on a loincloth and some coconuts when I went up to see Jaime Lannister at Bubba Fest, and I was hoping that he would give me a free autograph based on my outfit, and he didn't do that. But in that moment, I was the con slut. So I'm curious if like you ran into that stuff as like a contrast to your cosplay is not consent.
I've never seen that. I would suppose it could happen.
So you've never seen like a cosplayer dressing up really in a very revealing outfit and then trying to utilize that with a guest for some sort of advantage, like either time with the guest or a free autograph or anything like that. Like a groupie, right?
Yeah, like a groupie, but I know what I'm just trying to think of, spending all the time with these guests, particularly in their autograph lines.
And I'm not again, I'm trying to gather info and learn more about this stuff. So because Shane, I've got to credit Shane. He talked about the glory days of cons where apparently Shane was out there just freely raping and groping everybody, or whatever he meant by his weird line of, we did a bunch of stuff that wasn't acceptable then and definitely isn't acceptable now 30 years ago. I don't know what he actually means by that. So I'm trying to figure that out and piece that together.
The only thing that comes to mind is maybe someone trying to bypass security to get to the secure guest level.
Oh, sure. So like they're dressed up in their super hot outfit or whatever, and then they're trying to like get past the security guy.
Bribe their way into the guest level.
Now I know how to get into the guest level. This is all I had to do. Why don't people tell me the tricks? I'm new to this. Oh gosh. Cause see, I'm getting this conflicting story, right? Cause I talked to you and it sounds like cons are pretty chill. That there might be the errant weird happening, right? There, obviously you've got a meeting of 10,000 people, and there's always a chance that someone is gonna walk behind a con slut and brush his hand on her butt or something. I'm being cheeky here. But there's always a chance of something like that happening. You get a complaint, you deal with it. And when I went to Matsuri, I went to Bubba Fest, and I went to Community in Amarillo, and I got the impression that largely this event is pretty safe. All of these events are pretty safe. I didn't see anything like that. And then, but I go online and I read certain very unattractive people's Twitter feeds, and I find out that, like, apparently everybody is getting straight molested constantly at cons. So I don't know where the middle is. Like, what I'm trying to figure out what the thing is. But I'm talking to you, and it sounds like cons are pretty much not like that. Were they like that at a time? Was there a particular time of danger for women at cons, or is it inflated, or what is it? What's your impression of that?
Well, I can only speak for the cons that I work at, and usually, particularly the larger cons, that's when more stuff can possibly happen. And so, there was an incident where a con attendee was verbally harassed by someone outside of the convention.
What's verbal harassment sound like in the context of a convention?
Well, for this particular person, she was worried that she was going to get assaulted by two gentlemen, and I say that loosely, and she wasn't in cosplay or anything like that. She was just regular attendee, and of course it was the middle of the night.
Okay.
And she wasn't with anybody, so off the property.
Okay, so this is a woman in what city was this?
And this is in Atlanta.
Sorry. Okay, so this is a woman alone in Atlanta, worried that people outside of a convention are going to assault her.
No, she's worried about these two gentlemen that approached her. And
yeah, well, I mean, it's Atlanta in the middle of the night, and she's alone.
Yeah,
but
this is not downtown Atlanta. This is in suburbia. So,
well, I trust suburbia less than downtown, generally speaking. No, I'm just kidding. That was a bad Brock Turner joke that didn't come across well. Where never mind. Okay, so.
And then you get the other shenanigans, like juvenile things. Being in a hotel with an atrium, an open air atrium. We had some joker throw a shoe down and nearly hit a police officer who was patrolling in the lobby. A female police officer.
So just missed her.
Just missed her.
See, I'm pro fighting against the man, or the woe man in that case. Mm-hmm. No, I'm joking. But yeah, so you have these incidents, but it sounds like they're coming from generally outside of the convention.
Or inside the convention by dumb attendees.
Sure. So the atrium incident was from someone at the convention.
Yes.
Okay, I got the impression that since it was open air, it was like someone.
The hotel has an open air, so it's like open in the middle, and the rooms are on the outside. So it's a giant square. All the rooms are on the outside, and it's open. And
sure.
So this shoe fell from the 5th floor.
Was there fishing line attached to the shoe?
No.
Are you sure? Because fishing line is very thin.
Luckily, we had our own security staff posted on various floors with radios. So when stuff happens, we report. So yeah, this person was caught immediately. And the police officer had a nice conversation with this person.
Sorry, I'm just dying at the idea of Shane trying to fish for a consulate with a shoe. It's blowing my mind a little bit. The chat is very funny sometimes. But on this idea of like there being, because if you listen to like LJ Montello or whatever, Jennifer Hunt, or a Renfamous, I mean, I get the impression that that these poor women are constantly under assault by con attendees, like that they can barely walk, and I think they can barely walk, but there might be underlying issues. But they can barely walk through a con without men just groping and drooling on them. And that's not been your experience, is what I'm getting?
For the most part, no. I mean, there might be minor incidents, but it's handled right away. So,
yeah. So what is it? This is completely changing gears. So what would it take? What would it take to get a Stan Dahlin back into the con industry as a consultant or a consultant or whatever it is?
As a what? A consultant? Is that what you said?
A consultant. It's a misspelling of consultant.
Oh. Interesting.
But no, like if are you in the market for that or interested in like what? Because I'm genuinely asking, because I've been thinking of putting on a show. I think I can get some really good guests, but the question, of course, is I have no idea what I'm doing. And the other question is, how do I get a venue that's not going to chump out the second they get an email from some hideous data analyst from like Portland or whatever, or Washington State?
God, I never had to deal with that kind of problem. Well, I shouldn't say that.
Okay, Dish. You opened the door. You could have said I never had to deal with that, but now I want to know what you had to deal with.
Well, it was sort of after the fact, but you can say I had some TI from another show. We kind of get that all the time. Other shows are just ragging on you, and
so other shows are doing it.
Other shows. I mean, Florida's is well, back in the day, Florida was one of those places where shows would rag on each other.
Like Florida SuperCon, is that one of them?
Or
who is it? SuperCon? I mean, it's Raleigh SuperCon, but the same guy runs like a Raleigh show and a different Florida show now. Of course, he's new.
SuperCon. I don't know if it's the same person or whether he sold it. So I know that he moved into the Miami area. So.
Okay, so how does like another con how do they TI with your con? Do they talk to the guests, or what do they do? Do they try and poach your roster?
No, they don't go that far. I mean, they could if they wanted to, but no. Mainly, some of them would, try to embed their staffers into your con.
They're infiltrating.
Yeah, pretty much. And
why
they basically they if you're posting up flyers or advertising for your show, they'll tear it down.
Why is anime like this? Let's look. We've got the volunteer staff for our show. Now we're gonna have them volunteer at this other show. We're gonna get them in. We're gonna get them on the inside and tear it down. It's so ridiculous.
It is a serious matter. Some shows will tell you that you cannot volunteer for our show if you work volunteer for another show.
Yeah, it's and particularly
if you're in a director's position.
Yeah, it's like a non-compete, right? I mean that makes some level of sense, but the fact that it stems from people actively doing what we on the internet call a gay op to try and disrupt the con is it's fascinating. It's fascinating. This whole world of conventions and anime actors seems like it was put together in some like horrific nightmare, like just cobbled together from spare parts, and now we have this Frankenstein industry where no one seems to know how businesses tend to run. That's the impression that I get from it. Not that the individual cons are necessarily run poorly. I think a lot of cons are run very well, and people have realized the business potential of them, and they've become these very professional organizations. But at the same time, like
yeah, but it took them a while to get to that level,
and only some of them are there, right?
Yeah, and
like
some of
when I found out that Vic had a signed contract with Kamehacon, and they're just like, nope, you can't come. And I'm like, wait a minute. You have a signed document that says you absolutely can go there. And not only that you can go there, but you have to. I don't just get to tell you no. Like, what is this? And then I start looking, and that's apparently, I hear it doesn't happen often. Maybe you can comment on that. But there's at least a thought in the industry that these conventions can just say no to a guest after they've signed a document saying yes to a guest.
They can say it and hope that they won't get sued. But most of the ones that I know that are a bit more professional would in their contracts have an out clause.
Right. But how often does this happen? Because I've gotten conflicting reports. I've gotten some people who I don't trust saying that this happens all the time, that guests get canceled by conventions all the time. And then I've got other people saying that it's when I talk to convention owners, I'm like, they're like, we've never canceled a guest like that. Like, we don't do that. It's very, very rare.
Yeah, it's very rare. Most of the time, the guest will cancel on you because of, the ones that I've had were canceled out because they couldn't get out of work.
Right. They've got, because a lot of these voice actors have a second job.
Yeah.
Because they're paid nothing. So they have to cancel for something like that. And that I understand. But typically, the damage to the convention from someone like that canceling is usually very minimal. And so they're willing to let it, they're willing to just say, okay, they couldn't make it due to personal reasons or whatever. And there's no harm, no foul. At least that's my impression. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But then when you get up to a certain tier of a voice actor who isn't, who this is their primary job and they're very successful at it, someone like Vic, for example, my understanding is that would happen much, much less, right? Or am I wrong on that?
You're mostly correct. I mean, conventions, the only reason that a guest will cancel on a convention would be something that the convention did, like didn't pay the appearance fee, because some of them will have use it as a guarantee.
Right. And what about, have you ever had to cancel a guest?
No, I haven't. I mean, I had a guest medically get canceled.
Yeah, but you've never been like,
but I've never.
Yeah, don't come to my show. I know we talked about this. We signed a document. I was going to pay you some money, but no. UGTFO.
I'm 100% certain of who I want at my show. And I want them there unless something else happens. So if I find out, he's got a record, or he just recently got arrested for something, then I might take a second look and go, okay, I might have to decide to cancel this person. And of course, in my contract, it would have that provision for me to do that legally. If they sign it and agree.
Sure.
I was talking to, actually, was listening to Hero had somebody he was interviewing, and they was talking about conventions and guests and canceling, and that brought up some interesting stories where I was like in talks with getting a guest, and I was talking to their agent, and the agent pretty much said, okay, we can work with you on this, and okay, you fly him out, and you'll have to bring his wife with him. I said, okay, that's fine, I can do that, not a problem. Pay his appearance fee, sure, not a problem. Oh, and you're going to have to pay the appearance fee of his wife. And then it was like, what? Say what? But she's not the invited guest. That doesn't matter. She was also a voice actor. So 2 voice actors.
Okay.
And she's not the guest. And I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Right. Yeah, because I'm inviting him. I'm not inviting her, by the way, sexist. And I'm just kidding. and I'm gonna pay his appearance fee if he doesn't make his minimum or whatever. We've agreed to that. But this con slut of an agent was saying, no, you have to pay both of their appearance fees, even though she wasn't appearing.
Yes.
And she wasn't.
That question, and then he basically said, that's their standard contract. And I'm like, well, okay, well, that's fine. Have a nice day. Enjoy your time.
Peace, homie. Listen, this hot dog costs $12. Well, I'm just going to go buy that one. That one's $2. I don't need a $12 hot dog. That's very weird. And she wasn't agreeing to like undertake any responsibility or like do a signing line or anything like that either.
I wasn't doing any of that. She was there as a guest at the con, but not as an official guest.
Right. Yeah.
So she could do whatever she wanted to do. If she wanted to tour the city, I would have been happy to take her on a tour of the city. But no.
Well, listen, Stan, here's what I'm going to need you to do. I'm going to need you to start up a con again, all on your own. I'm not going to help you or anything like that. I need you to do it. I need you to invite me, and I need you to pay Lady Rackets' appearance fee. That's what we need to happen.
Maybe I'll just put Lady Rackets up on the stage, and then you can just sit down in the audience and watch her perform. Yeah,
there you go. That would be great. I think she'd be killer at it, except she would hate every second of it. So, well, let me see. I'm trying to think if I have any other questions for you. I mean, this is all fascinating to me. This whole industry is fascinating to me because it seems.
Oh, here's another point.
Yeah.
It was brought up that when it comes to appearance fees for guests and stuff like that, and how Vic said it depends on the show and stuff, that is correct. It depends on the show. Particularly if it's a first-year show, you might give them a break and stuff like that to the guests. I personally don't do the minimum thing. I just pay. I say, okay, we agree on a appearance fee, and that's it. So I will, bring you out, pay the airfare, hotel, and your agreed upon appearance fee. Then I allow you to make whatever money you want to make signing autographs. So
wow, that's a hell of a deal. Based on what I've seen, because that's guaranteed money plus.
Yeah, but I usually keep it low on the appearance fee if I can negotiate it low.
What's the biggest appearance fee you've ever paid? You don't have to say who or anything.
$2,500.
Wow. I mean, that's a good deal, especially when you're talking about them being able to earn on top of that. So when are you starting a show and having me out there? No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. Speaking of which, I have to do something real quick because I forgot to an hour ago. Let me do this. Hold on. I'll be right back. Like I'm not leaving the room. I'm right here.
It's drifting time.
It's been going for 1 hour, guys. It's been going for 1 hour. It is now Thursday, 1 a.m. Central Time, and I have these glossy prints signed by Vic Mignogna. I wanna let you know these were donated to me anonymously. There's some rumor going around about where they came from, but these are donated to me anonymously, and they were acquired from Vic and donated. So, that's they are here for the GoFundMe drive. The benefactor has said to utilize them for the GoFundMe drive, and they have chosen to remain very anonymous. Those 5 prints that we have it started 1 hour ago at midnight Central Thursday. It will go through Sunday at 11:59 p.m. or whatever. It ends Monday at midnight, if that makes sense. When it ticks over from Sunday to Monday. It ends then. The highest cumulative donations to the GoFundMe, the 5 highest, will get one of those prints mailed to them. I'll have to contact you. This is going to be a huge pain for me to try and figure out how to work that out, but that is there. I guess I'll check on the GoFundMe right now, but that's going. The GoFundMe is $243,880. So it's open now. Go donate and stuff. So there's that. But I wanted to be very clear. Those were produced to me by an anonymous benefactor who just said, I don't want any recognition for this or anything like that. Just go ahead and put these out there for the GoFundMe. I don't know where they got them or anything. I assume they got them from Vic, but I don't know where they got them. And but there they are. They provided them to me for this. So there you go, guys. Go ahead and donate away on the GoFundMe. Sorry, Stan. I didn't mean to do that while you were on the air, but I forgot that I said I would do that. Endorsed by Stan Dahlin. I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
Grift away.
Yes, grift away. Be grifted. That's my grifting magical powers coming directly at you with everything I've got. So what do you
more mad at us even more?
Yes, hose mad is how I say it. Hose mad, and I got that expression directly from Mike Dunford, who uses hose mad all the time, which I think is very sexist of Mike. That's actually a joke. I don't know if he does. Nova Zero, I want to take this question real quick. Says, Nick, what if we want to be anonymous? You can be anonymous when you put it on the GoFundMe. I actually see the real names of the donors. As long as you enter your name but keep your donation anonymous, it shows up as anonymous on GoFundMe, but your name shows up to me on the back end. And we all like the back end. Your name shows up to me there on the backside, so I can actually see that. I won't dox people or say, if an anonymous person is the winner of one of these prints, I am going to keep you anonymous. I have to contact you anyway to work this out. It's entirely possible that I contact someone, they're like, no, I don't even care about the print. I think that's unlikely, but that's possible. So I'll have to send like a thank you to the big donors that I find that says, "Hey, thank you for your donations. Please respond to me at this email address so I can arrange to send you the print or whatever." I'm trying to figure out how to do this. It's going to be a disaster, but I'm going to trudge through it. I just wanted to point out that even if you keep your donations anonymous to the world, as long as you put your proper information into GoFundMe and then label your donation as anonymous, I will actually see your info and be able to tally it up that way. So there you go. So that's that. So Stan, what have you learned, I guess, from, you come back to Twitter. You're not really on Twitter, but you come back to it, which, by the way, was a huge mistake. Twitter is an absolute garbage heap of humanity. But what have you learned, I guess, coming back to it? Like, what is it for you, or how is it that platform struck you?
Oh, it's a dumpster dive.
Yeah, I agree. It's a weird place. I mean, I've been learning so much over Twitter these past, because I started using Twitter when I started doing YouTube more, because I found out that it was a good way to advertise my show. It was like, well, I'm going to do a show, or I released a video. Here you go, and I would get a few more clicks on the YouTube from Twitter, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess I got to do this. Actually, at first it was Reddit, but thank God that stopped mattering, because Reddit, it confuses me. I'm too old for Reddit. But then it's Twitter now. So, but now I'm kind of stuck, because Twitter is where I advertise my show. I get a bunch of views from Twitter directly, because YouTube is really great and notifies people when they promise they will all the time. But I've learned a lot about the world from Twitter, and I've learned that I don't want to live in it at all. How's it been for you?
My life is just fine, because I'm not interacting with any of these folks, and the ones I do interact, it has been very positive.
That's good. That's the one good thing, I guess, is that you do have the ability on Twitter to kind of carve out how you use it. But yeah, I've learned today. I don't know if you know what happened to me today, but I learned that I had money that was controlled by someone else that I didn't know existed. So I'm gonna have to have a very long talk with this person and find out why they're not just giving me gobs of cash whenever I demand
why they're not showing you the money.
Yeah, seriously. Because, like, imagine you find out, like, someone calls you up and they're like, "Hey, Stan, I just got to let you know that you are you're actually the character from Mr. Deeds, and you have been, though, for several years now, and all you had to do was call up this person that you talk to on occasion, and they never told you." How would you feel about that?
I'll be like, where have I been?
Right. Why isn't it raining like hookers blow and Lamborghinis on me right now? Like, what happened here? Where's the breakdown in communication? That's what I need to know. That's what I need to know. But it's amazing. Twitter promotes this weird idea that they have acquired a fact when they've actually acquired a concept or an opinion. And then it's reinforced, and then it's on the internet, so it's true. It's very strange. Mm-hmm. I'm Ty Beard. Pardon my English, Stan. I know we're in good company. You son of a bitch. You owe me a Lamborghini Aventador right now, because that's what's in the document. How dare you? So that's all I had to say about it. I hate Twitter. I hate this idea about culture, like where people project their voice into the void, and then someone picks it up, and it's suddenly a thing. That it bothers me. But yeah, I just didn't know if you had any opinions on how like social media is sculpting this landscape, because you operated in this landscape of anime conventions, but social media has changed it, I think. Because
oh yeah, for the worst.
Yeah, and the evidence for me of that is that what you are talking about with conventions is the opposite of what I hear on Twitter. So, like you're talking about some foreign land that I've never heard of. And
you and me both, but I can only talk about what I know and what I've experienced. And for those out there who particularly the large shows, if you're not taking down notes, filing and keeping track of reports, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah.
Liability problems.
Do you have the receipts, Stan?
What, for ZumiCon?
No. for anything. I'm just kidding. You mentioned taking down notes, and
I don't. When I completely left, all that stuff was turned over.
Oh, it's turned over to the current owner.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. That's interesting. That's very interesting, actually. Because it seems like then the current owner would have those notes if they needed to use them for something.
Yep. And I know what he's going to say. He's going to say, I don't have it.
Weird. Why wouldn't he have it? Okay, Nova Zero says, Nick, I am a consultant. You have ruined my job title. I have to watch it for introductions. Farm you stupid Google censor sheet. Have you ever seen the movie Repo Man with Emilio Estevez?
Yes.
Have you ever seen the TV edit of it?
No, actually, no, I have not.
They replaced all the F-bombs with mother farmer.
Oh, that's good.
There's a significant amount of mother farming going on in in the TV edit of Repo Man. Brian Z says, I haven't been to a major convention in several years, but when I was going regularly, late 90s to mid 2000s, most of the fans would self-police. There are not that many females openly in the fandom, so when guys were asses to women, it didn't last long. It has to actually.
I long for those days.
You long for those days? I was kind of curious, like, how has demographics shifted even while you were there, 95 to 2013? Because I remember what 95 was like in nerd communities or geek communities or whatever you want to call it. Because I played video games. I played Magic the Gathering back in 90, probably 96, 97, maybe even 95. I remember what it was like, and it literally was almost the no girls allowed sign on the tree fort or whatever. And then nowadays you look and like there's this demand for a presence of females in these communities, and there's a whole bunch of theories as to why, but it seems like there's been a massive demographic shift. Have you seen that?
Yeah, it was very gradual. Back then it was mostly guys, and there with sparses of females here and there, and but then later on it raised up to the point where it was almost 50-50.
Sure. And where is it now, do you think?
Oh, I think it's probably 60-40 female.
So it's predominantly female, you're saying?
There's more females than males.
Sure. Any ideas why? Like, what do you think is doing that or causing it? Because I've also noticed
it's just more females are getting into anime.
Right, but the fact that
more so
that the pendulum is going the other way, does that result in, or is that a result of a content shift. When I was watching anime in the late 90s, right? It's mecha, it's ninjas, and it's small bikini tops, right? Like that's all we watched. Well, that and like Cowboy Bebop, but generally speaking, you've got either big tanks with missiles, you've got flying tanks with missiles, or you've got anthropomorphic robot tanks with missiles, and or ninjas with missiles, and then now I'm getting like people are telling me about stuff like Slice of Life, and that like Tenchi Muyo show comes on, and I'm like, what is this? And I don't even.
Show, yep.
Yeah, I don't even understand it. Is that like a contributing factor, or is that which one's leading? What's leading the horse? Which one is the horse?
I don't know what it is like now, because I mean, my taste in anime is different than back then. I mean, I watched all genres of in anime. I mean, at one point, King of Tennis was hugely popular. You know, who would think about an anime about tennis, or even basketball, or even football?
Yeah.
So the sports anime was actually pretty big at one point.
Sure. It's all very strange to me. Like, I remember my falling out with anime very vividly. Do you want me to indulge this story real quick? Because I'm watching like Ninja Scroll, Evangelion, whatever you call it, Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star. I'm watching all these things, and I'm like, this is cool. Anime's cool. This guy just fired a black hole at a guy, and he got sucked in. Then he came back out because that's tough. And this is awesome. And then my buddies who procure all the anime are like, hey, come over and watch this anime. I'm like, all right, that sounds good. We're going to see some ninjas chop up some robots. And I go sit down, and they play Tokyo Godfathers. And I honestly, like, we're like 30 minutes in, and I look at him and I said, what the hell is this? I was so confused. And I didn't, that was the time I stopped watching anime right there. I was like, I'm done with it. There's no,
that was your shock moment?
Right. I'm like, I want Spriggan, right? I want a guy to throw like a piece of metal across a city and murder something with it. That's what I want. And here I am watching like 3 men and a baby in Japanese with comedy that I don't find funny at all because of the culture barrier or something.
And they were trying to make you bring some culture into. Yeah,
I fell asleep shortly after I said, "What the hell is this?" I fell asleep and then never watched anime. Yeah. I didn't watch anime again for like several years after that. It was traumatic for me. I could show you on the doll where the anime touched me, and I couldn't do it. I had to go to therapy to watch it again. It was crazy.
But the thing is, they messed you up on one anime, and they didn't try to bring you back, because there was tons of other stuff they could have thrown at you.
Listen, when trust is broken, trust is broken. I no longer. It took me a long time for one of them's like, you need to watch this anime. It's called Berserk, and I'm like, listen, you scumbag.
That would be good.
The last thing you tried to show me was this weird, stupid thing about that had no violence in it. It was all just this comedy stuff, and I don't care about that. I can watch comedy anywhere, but I don't get to see ninjas and giant robots anywhere else. And so then I did watch the Golden Arc Berserk, which was great, and I enjoyed it very much eventually. But he had to regain my trust because he had betrayed it.
Well, since you're sharing, my shock moment was when they put in this anime, and then the who produced it popped on the screen, and it said Penthouse.
Wait, what? That doesn't sound like anime. That sounds like something better. What was this?
It was a show. Actually, it was a movie called Urotsuki Doji. Legends of the Overfiend.
Okay.
Produced by Penthouse.
Is it awesome or is it horrible?
It's basically a tentacle movie.
And that was you going, all right, y'all, this is too far.
It's just like, what is this? Oh my god!
Who showed that to you? Was it Kurt Eichenwald?
I have no idea who it was.
Oh, okay.
So long ago.
Have you heard of Kurt Eichenwald? Do you know who that is?
No, I don't know.
He's a weirdo creep guy, ostensibly a writer or some sort of journalist, who also happens to have epilepsy. And someone sent him a weaponized assault GIF that like flashed. Like they sent him like a Pokemon GIF or whatever, and he says his wife says he went into a seizure and almost died, but pretty much no one believes that. But anyway, he was doing something like a live stream or whatever, and he pulls up his browser, and someone clicked in enhanced on his browser tab and found he was looking at like tentacle porn on Pornhub. And then his excuse, he's like, no, I was just explaining it to my wife and kids. It's like, oh my god, what's wrong with you?
Wife and kids. Oh, that's
oh god. So he was giving them their shock moment right there, live and in person. Well, I think that's about what I've got for now, for questions. So I've got a bunch of super chats to read through, of course. If you're willing to hang out with me, of course, I never demand my guests do that, but you are welcome to stay as long as you like, and if you want to engage in those super chats, you certainly can.
Sure.
I am
stick around for a little bit.
Sweet deal. I moved on from the smooth Hawaiian whiskey that I was drinking to this extra military special.
The one you just love the taste.
Oh, so good. So good with the high quality plastic bottle.
And how long has it been sitting around?
I just got this down at I got this at Road Rage last month. It's good. Okay. It's imported and bottled by Atlantic Distillers in Baltimore, Maryland, but it is distilled and blended in Scotland. So,
okay.
a bunch of Scotsmen lifted their kilts, urinated into a vat, and then this is the result. I'm pretty sure they age it 3 years at least. Oh god, it's awful. But I've had 2 drinks before it, so now it's at least tolerable. It's just not any good. Okay. So let's do these. We've got Felipe Mouve. Says, hey Nick, greetings from South America. This way I can donate US dollars instead of my currency that always makes the chat crazy. But I love when you donate like 38,000 of whatever you donate. And they're like, oh my god, Nick just got 40 grand like Brittany Venti or whatever. Please buy my bathwater. Dread Clown says, Stan's story reminded me. Went to Dragon Con in Atlanta with my friend who was 18 and never left his home state. His mom sat him down and warned him, be careful, it gets dark early in Atlanta. I will say I was down in Atlanta for a Road Rage show with Dick Masterson early this year. And we were walking, Lady Rackets and I and the baby were walking. We had our baby with us and we were walking around downtown Atlanta at like 1 a.m. I actually felt pretty safe there. I didn't feel safe in downtown Miami, ever, even during the day. But downtown Atlanta, I thought was pretty good. Even I had to step over some homeless people from time to time, and I was really mad that the hotel bar would not let me bring my baby in a stroller up to the. They had like an elevator up to the rooftop bar, and they wouldn't let me bring the baby up because I guess they were afraid their bartender would serve my child liquor. Or something. Like, I said that to the bouncer. I'm like, I said, why can't I bring my baby up? And he's like, listen, no one under 21. I was like, are you worried your bartender's going to serve the stroller baby alcohol? And he's like, well, We just have a policy. It's a good job. Good job.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, Atlanta Bar. Dustin Fritzfar says, you should watch Boku no Pico. Don't question, just watch. Have you ever watched Boku no Pico?
I don't know what that is.
Really?
No idea.
Okay. I'm turning like the interrogation light on you. Where were you the last time you saw Boku no Pico? Stan. No, I'm just kidding. Don't watch it. That's my advice to you. I haven't watched it either. Nathan Kish says, I like the shorts. They're comfortable. Thank you. Shorts are great. Tomoki Sakurai says, the life-size Gundam is in Odaiba, Japan. I got to go to the Gundam Museum. It's amazing. So you've never been to the Gundam Museum, though?
No.
But you want to go?
Oh, yeah.
You were in Japan. You didn't take the opportunity. What's wrong with you?
Oh, it wasn't there then.
I'm sorry. This is Japan, the land of anime. Time travel's a thing. Shield Lab says, Stan, 8th MS team is what you're thinking of. This is that Gundam.
Yep, that's right.
The best series was 0083 Stardust Memories. P.S. I want to booth at Kamehacon 3. Find me on Instagram at shield_labs. What do you think about that Stardust Memories? Did you watch that one?
I've seen some episodes, and there's still a lot of Gundam I need to catch up on.
There's a lot of Gundam series.
Except for G-Wing or G-Gundam. G-Gundam was kind of my take on it is if Gundams were used in Olympic Games.
Oh, okay. I don't like that at all.
No.
The stakes aren't high enough. What's your opinion of Macross?
Loved it.
What's your favorite Macross?
The first one.
What about so just the original series? Or are you talking like Bionoids?
No, the first one, the very first one. It was called Macross, Super Dimensional Fortress Macross.
Yeah, so that's
which became part of.
Okay, so I think Bionoids in Japan was called like Farewell to Love or something, right? That was Clash of the Bionoids. That was that was like the hour-and-a-half condensed movie of Macross, the series.
Yeah.
God, I love that. That was one of the first. That's one of the first anime I watched. It was so cool. Macross is still my jam. Although, like, it's getting weird now. Like Macross Delta and all of these things. I don't understand them.
I mean, there was the later ones got really good, and I got just totally disappointed when we got to the very last 2 episodes, and it was like, oh man, you were doing just great, and then you got to the end of the series, and then you started rushing the story.
Is this Delta you're talking about?
No. Oh God, which one was it? Was it Zero?
Zero is the one where they're like on diesel engines or whatever. Pretty interesting concept because they had fuel and they had limited amounts of time.
Yeah, it's probably that one. That's probably the one. I'm just so mad at Harmony Gold.
Well, yeah, Harmony Gold can eat all of the bricks in the world, for all I care. They suck, and I'm really annoyed that that whoever over in Japan owns Macross relicensed it to or re-upped the contract. That's this Harmony Gold is just dumping the IP. They're not doing anything with it at all.
No.
I hate them. I hate them with a passion. Man, I loved Macross Plus. I really did. That was great with Isamu and Gold. And I love Macross 2, even though it's not canon. With Hibiki Kunzaki. I don't know if you happen to see that one.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. But then, yeah, I tried watching some of like the most recent one, which I think was Delta, and I was very confused by what was happening.
You and me both.
Okay. Because I'm like,
music was great.
Yeah, but it was like so prominent. And I know music is a big part of Macross, but it was like so weird. They're like, these Veritechs are flying around shooting up the Zentradi while like trying to protect these 5 different musicians, and they're all color coded. It was really it was gosh, it was weird. Okay, sorry. Kalinka Pavlova says, I arrive late and mics are being abused. Lol. Yeah, has your mic tried to assault you since the original incident?
Only when I stopped touching it.
Wait, so you're the one initiating the touches?
No.
I'm not sure, Stan. Kalinka Pavlova says, what's a hentai? Lady Rackets 2019. Very true. TLJ Screwjob says, Stan, what do you think of cosplay thoughts and con sluts? I guess we didn't ask your opinion on them. What is your opinion on them?
Con sluts, stay away.
Did you say stay away?
Yeah, stay away. You don't know what's been there or has touched that.
Right. And you don't know how much consent was given for any of it.
There's probably lots.
Whew. Okay. Sorry. I'm back to professional journalist. Kalinka Pavlova says, did Monica really think she could name drop Stan and he wouldn't notice? Or did she think he'd be on her side automatically? I don't get it. Do you have any opinion on that? It is an unanswered question. I mean, we know that she reached out to you much later saying, sorry, I should have talked to you.
Yeah, she should have. And then she wouldn't have put that in there. You know, if I remember correctly, when they finally filed their TCPA, I don't recall that story being in their TCPA.
There's probably a reason for that. A couple reasons. One, there's some legal precedent that suggests that they don't get to prove the truth of a matter that is a matter of public concern. That's their argument, that this is a matter of public concern. So Vic bears the burden of proving falsity. But if he proves falsity, they don't get to prove the truth. So at this stage, the TCPA stage, he just has to bring a prima facie case, and they shouldn't get to controvert his evidence, although the judge decided to just throw that out the window. So I'm very, very curious to see if the judge will read his transcript and determine that maybe he made some mistakes. I'm trying to get a count, but last I checked, there's double digits of appealable errors in that hearing. So when I get a finalized sort of idea of all of those appealable errors, I will bring them to the audience. But yeah, I think the other problem, of course, is that your affidavit just flat out annihilates the very idea that they could bring it.
Yeah. So, yeah, Monica, why did you throw me under the bus?
Yeah. Why'd she bring you into this? I think because people are saying, if I had to guess, it's because people are saying, it's just your word versus, versus his. And why should we believe you? Or your word versus Vic, and why should we believe you? And then she's like, no, it's not just me. It's actually this other guy, Stan. And I don't know. Do you think she thought maybe you just wouldn't ever notice and wouldn't be around, or I don't know.
Well, I guess she was hoping for that, but
yeah. Sorry,
Monica. Some friends of mine and family members disagree with you.
Well, there you go. We've got Nylock7 says, Tatsunoko, the Japanese company which just licensed Macross to Harmony Gold, recently was told by a Tokyo court in 2001, well, that's not that recent, They do not own Macross. Macross is owned by Studio New and Big West Frontier. The sale looks illegal. Well, gotta have someone to contest it for that. Kalinka Pavlova says, yes, Stan, do Nick's convention, please. Well, the Kalinka has spoken, Stan. Now you're into BoomerCon. Thank you for contractually obligating yourself by doing my show. I didn't tell you about that, but that was the condition.
And that was who again?
Kalinka Pavlova.
Kalinka, okay. We'll make sure the check is in the mail.
Yeah, there you go. Cerulean Voice says, my girlfriend sent Vic a long email about her life and his situation, saying he inspires her to keep fighting. They've never spoken, but he replied in under 24 hours with thanks and encouragement. What a bloke. Yeah. In your experience with Vic, and feel free to answer this however you want. I have my ideas of how you might, but I don't know. Is he different with fans than other voice actors?
He's about the same.
You think he's about the same?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
See, I get the impression that he is a little bit different. That maybe he takes just a little, an extra amount of time with him. But maybe that's just my perception. Like I said, I don't actually know. Your perception is that he's about the same with fans as the next voice actor, or the next prominent one, right?
Yeah, but but those voice actors are saying, I really don't want to spend that much time with you, Vic. It's like, sure. I'm not really interested in what you have to say, and Vic can be, dominate a conversation.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is Vic with the fans versus voice actors with the fans, with their fans. Is it the same sort of dynamic? Like a fan goes up to see, well, just since we're talking about the lawsuit, a fan goes up to see Monica and a fan goes up to see Vic. Are they getting roughly the same experience with each one? Or is there something different that each one might do? Or do you have no comment on that? I mean, I don't know.
Well, in the past, when autographs were originally done, we would have all the guests together signing at the exact same time. So, and the line would go from one end of the table to the other end of the table. So each fan got an autograph from their same, but it got to the point where, and particularly when you throw Vic in the line, depending on where Vic is on that table, it's better not to put him at the front of the line.
Sure.
And more to the back of the table.
Okay, so you would have like a big table and a line of convention guests.
Mm-hmm.
And so then,
in the olden days, that's the way we did it. And then it was like, okay, this is not working. And then we started breaking them up.
Sure.
So they had individual tables, and then it became very apparent who the fans wanted to see more so. It's not to say that they didn't want to get an autograph signing with all the guests. It's just that they're willing to wait.
Gotcha. Very interesting stuff. Very weird how this is all evolved over the years. Zach Fuchs says, first time super chat. Hey, thanks, Zach. Welcome. Been watching since the start of the Vic case. Just to tell you, I went to Hawaii Pier Harbor and Aloha Stan. So that's for you. Skaki Onsai says, snow boulder. Are we talking about Matt Jarbo in the winter? Yes. Dangerous snow boulders that he is collecting. Stan, how much would you suggest a pile of boulders would cost? Wait, let me rephrase the question. If someone offered you a free pile of boulders, would you make sure and take your kid with you to go pick them up? It's a very abstract question, but you don't have to answer. It's fine.
If you could see me, my eyes would be blinking a lot.
Yeah, I figure. Believe me, I picked that up.
Blink, 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 blink.
Shining Nebula says, Shane's the protagonist of an up-and-coming anime called Soul Eater, SOLE Eater, I hear. Toy Bounty Hunter says, Stan, would you agree that no promoter worth a dang would ever compromise the integrity of their show for the sake of covering up a guest's criminality?
We'd be the first ones calling the police.
Yeah, so if you had an idea that one of your guests was assault, like let's say you got a report, so and so is just groping a fan, and she comes up and complains to you, like the first person you call is the police.
Well, we would be interrogating them, and then typically we have police on the floor anyway, so
Sure.
They're nearby.
Gotcha.
So we would contact them, and then have it resolved as quickly as possible.
And to be clear, you've never had anything like that happen with a guest.
No.
The closest you've come is some weird stuff with a couple of, like, attendees.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Sefi Hakubi says, I never could imagine why Monica and company would trash fire Vic either. I've toured with some pretty crappy guests, but Rial and Sabit were people I respected. My heart legit broke when it all went down. V, thank you for the donation. Yasif 343, Jasmine 343 says, is it just me, or is Kick Vic and some new news outlets portraying Vic's case like he's defending his case from sexual assault and not from defamation and TI? Goodness gracious. I think I've noticed that lately. Very weird how it's being reported. But I think that's...
And no bias.
No bias, right? None. Listen, this is the only unbiased channel you can get, Stan. Austin Heartless says, let me consult you on consluts. Sorry, there was a typo in there that was very confusing. So let me consult you on consluts. Sounds good, Heartless. We'll set up an appointment. Dustin Fritz Farr says, I know I'm harassing you with anime suggestions, but if you want a really good anime, you should watch Megalobox. It's a sci-fi boxing anime with a mafia fixed fights and an underdog struggle against his poor social standing. You ever watch Megalobox?
Never heard of it, but I will give it a whirl.
I probably won't, and it's no offense to Dustin. It's just that I haven't watched a show in the past 6 months. I'm too busy. Okay, Gothic Nerd Chick says, one thing I brought up with Hirohei is how every single prominent VA that defames Vic seems to have ties to Okratron. Would be interesting if Funimation's discovery uncovers financial incentive. Ooh, it would. It would.
Mm-hmm.
Toy Bounty Hunter says, Florida is still like that, Stan. Lol.
I'm not surprised.
What do you think about... we don't have to talk about Okratron specifically, or maybe you want to, but that's up to you. What do you think about, I guess, just generally the kind of incestuous nature of this community of voice actors? Like, because it seems like they're very much a cliquey community that circles together, that protects their own, and then when someone's out of the group, they're out.
I don't know. I mean, it's been expressed to me that, a lot of these voice actors had dated each other over the years, and a lot of them have worked with each other outside of the anime community, theater work and stuff like that. But beyond that, I have no opinion on, or have no idea what may be going on with Funimation or even with Chris's company.
Sure. Gotcha. Gary H says, dang it, Nick, I use so much free data listening to you that they have to slow me down for fair use, and now I'm giving you money too. Worth it. Hey, thanks, buddy. Nova Zero says, Nick, what if we want to be a non... Oh, I addressed that earlier. The Stealth Hispanic says, just wanted to say I'll be at Colossal Con East, a water park anime con. Colossal Con is a water park anime con? Do you know anything about this, Stan?
I saw it when I was researching conventions recently, and that's where I found Jamie Marchi and all the other guests.
Wait, so Jamie Marchi is going to Colossal Con?
No, she's not going to Colossal Con. I just noticed it on the list.
How many water parks have you been to in your life?
2.
Just 2?
Yep.
Gosh, did you notice that the average weight of an attendee to a water park is 60 pounds higher than anywhere else you could go on the planet?
I'm trying to understand why there's a water park in my hometown. You know, we have the biggest water park out there, and yet we have a inland big water park.
Yeah. So there's a water park like in Honolulu, or?
Yeah, on Oahu.
Wild. Yeah, why would they have a water park? You just go to the ocean. Very weird. Come to my panel, Just Say It Already, at 1 p.m. Saturday. See you weebs there. That's the Stealth Hispanic. You can go to his panel, Just Say It Already, at Colossal Con, where I hear he will be wearing a thong bikini. No One Important says, not only is Amanda a B, she's also very stupid. I think they mean Amanda Wynn Lee.
Yeah, I figured as much.
She seems like a gem. Finfrog says, Twitter activists have hive mind. One schmuck gets a big brained idea and it spreads through the slut construct at the speed of moron. Toy Bounty Hunter says, the advent of cosplay and the attention it brings. Oh, I think that's what he's saying as to why there was an increase in women in anime. SJW Slayer Leo says, watch Boku no Pico. Best anime ever. Trust me. Smiley faces. Kidda says, you need to watch an anime called Boku no Pico. And Kidda then follows up and says, don't actually watch Boku no Pico. It may be a federal crime in the US to do so.
Okay.
Jason Smoot says, it wasn't tentacle porn. It was Cthulhu, I swear. Do you are you outside of anime entirely? Are you a fan of like H.P. Lovecraft or anything like that? The Cthulhu mythos?
I know of it, but no.
Gosh, it's good. Do you like to read? Have you heard of words, Sonny?
I've heard of words. I use my words.
Yeah. Man, if you like reading, I genuinely get great pleasure from H.P. Lovecraft. And I tell you, the reason I know I like H.P. Lovecraft, because it's always like, how do you know you like something? For me, it was whenever I would read H.P. Lovecraft for a significant amount of time during the day, I would guarantee that I would dream that night. And I don't dream a lot because I have narcolepsy and I fall asleep like kind of randomly and I sleep really heavy. But man, when I would read H.P. Lovecraft, I would dream. And so that's how I know it's good. Philip Edreljohn says, group watch Gundam main timeline with Stan. I don't know if we could show that on YouTube. Lucha Vandross says, sent you a DM on Twitter. Okay, buddy, I'll check it out. Izhaelson says, didn't Sabbath voice Boku no Piccolo? Come on! Come on! That's not good. That's not appropriate. Heroic Nico says, I'd recommend The King's Avatar. It's a Chinese anime based around an MMORPG gamer getting forcibly retired and starting over live action. Has 40 episodes plus English subs. I'm so confused about that description. Did you catch that?
No.
First of all, it's a Chinese anime.
Okay.
Based around an MMORPG gamer who's forcibly retired and he has to start over live action. I don't even know what that means.
So he was a professional video gamer.
I guess it's very weird. It's that I don't understand that one. Okay, Howling Warwolf says Amanda Winley is also a massive pothead. Well, there you go. Hashtag legalize it. Bad Vibe says, Stan, how communicative is cons with companies like Funimation and vice versa?
Well, here's the story. When we were, the show was like 9 years old, and we were 12,000 attendees. Funimation came to us and said, yeah, we're thinking about coming to your show and representing how many attendees that come to your show, and we tell them how many, and it's I'm okay, we'll wait until you get bigger. I'm like, okay, whatever, funny.
Sure.
Whatever, sure. Funimation. And the entire time, well, I say from AW3 to almost the present time. Well, actually, since we had ADV Films with us the entire time. So their competitor was with us the entire time. So, yeah, funny. We didn't need you.
Oof. Did they ever try? Did companies like Funimation ever try to pressure you to have or not have a guest? Did you ever hear anything about that, or have you heard about that from other conventions?
They would try to get you to go through them to book guests, which was another thing I mentioned to Ty, which threw him for a loop.
So wait, Funimation. So you're gonna book, say, Marky, right? And then Funimation would try and get you to book Marky through them.
Mm-hmm.
Did they take a cut or something? Like, what was their impetus for that?
Well, I never followed through with, to find out, because I have contact information for various voice actors. I didn't need to go through Funimation.
Sure.
Remember, I was avoiding the middleman as much as possible.
Right. Especially when it's Funimation. Very, very weird. Okay, Toy Bounty Hunter says, I was on with Hero earlier. Thanks for the input, Stan. Elio Vladen says, love the hell out of H.P. Lovecraft. I love Azathoth. That's he who should not be named. The idea that all our reality is a dream that could be blinked out at any point. Don't you dare. It's Stan, if you have someone called that which shall not be named, why would you write the name down? It's like, that just seems like a poor idea. I don't know. Very weird. Okay. Bohica says, Stan, when you met Ron, was it in a hotel room and was he holding a snack tray?
No, I actually was in the hotel lobby, and it was just a greeting and a handshake. Yes, I said a handshake.
It was a handshake. Did he have a universal remote in the other hand?
He had Monica in the other hand.
So yes. Were there any dogs around?
No.
So all of the dogs had already been killed. Okay, God, this man is dangerous. Bad Dragonite says, I've been getting into weightlifting again. Nikki, you got to tell me how you work those grifting muscles. Does it involve the lifts and boulders? Man, I am so bad at lifting because of my stupid allergy. It's so demotivating that that's why I'm trying to. I've got an appointment with my doctor because someone sent me that they have the same allergy. I'm allergic. I don't know if you know this, Stan. I'm allergic to increases in internal body temperature. I'm literally allergic to doing any sort of work, which is like, it's a great excuse, except it doesn't actually stop me from having to do stuff. My wife still makes me like carry crap, but I get hives and I get very itchy. But someone has recommended an injectable antihistamine that apparently cured it for them. But since I live in a tiny town, getting into the allergist takes like months, and it's not until next month. But I have not been able to lift weights for like 2 years because I hate it so much. Bohica says, my dad died, no money for funeral. Mom in the hospital, no money for bills. Wife left me about to go to jail for failure to pay child support. Please support my GoFundMe for hookers, meth, and booze. Now that's something I could get behind. Mercenary X says, for the love of God, Nick, please stop calling these voice actors incestuous. It's absolutely disgusting because you are actually comparing them to incest, and I don't want to see you bad-mouthing incest with those degenerates. It's giving incest a bad name. Oh my God. FGC Anon says, on the con sluts topic, I can only imagine it being associated with women that hook up at cons. Having attended cons since 2004, having late night raves, drinking at bars and hotel rooms, and PUA types, I don't know what PUA types are, present, did result in sexual activity happening. Well, I think all conventions inherently result in sexual activity, even business cons. Silva Luca says, start a furry convention. Everyone is a con slut. Stan, what's your opinion of furries? Wait, that was you said that very quickly. Do you want to? I feel like I'm watching Dick Tracy and I've got the tape of Mumbles. Do you want me to slow?
That was Mumbles.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I need to slow it down. What did you say about furries?
It's like that CSI episode when they talked about furries, and I'm like, oh, jeez. No, thank you.
So you're not into the fursuits?
No.
I had to be a mascot once because the mascot was vomiting when I was in college, and so I was like, oh, whatever, I'll do it. That was the worst like hour and a half of my life. PUA is pickup artists, by the way. So they're pickup artist types present. Have you ever been picked up by a pickup artist, Stan?
Not that I know of.
Man, that seems sad. Me either. I'm with you on that, by the way. No pickup artists have ever tried to get me in bed, and I feel left out. SJW Slayer Leo says, Nick, Stan, how about starting a VicCon? Well, I feel like you'd need more than just Vic at a convention.
Actually, I had a better idea.
What's your idea?
But if I say it, the other side would get all upset.
Wait, what? No, I want to hear it. What's your idea?
No.
Oh, come on. Is it like
we have a list of the cons that basically said we don't want you here, and so the idea is for him to go there anyway, not to their show, but into
next
to
their show.
Yeah,
and I love that idea. I think that's great. And have like 500 people show up for him at off-site and just annihilate their stupid show.
And basically do the exact same thing he did in New York.
Yeah. And in Raleigh. New York wasn't the first time. Raleigh SuperCon had uninvited him. Because now that I've had 3 drinks, I'll just say it. The guy who runs Raleigh SuperCon is a C-U-C-K. Which was probably rude of me. I hope you don't know him. But anyway,
no.
Yeah, Vic did the same thing. Went to a martial arts studio near Raleigh and managed to have, a line out the door all day. And people waiting outside in the heat to go in and see him for a few minutes. No vendors or anything else.
Right.
But yeah, I think it'd be very, very successful. But this is my idea for BoomerCon in a lot of ways, is to bring in a bunch of people that maybe aren't welcome at various conventions, bring them all to Minneapolis. Vic, some other voice actors that I have kind of some ideas on, some comic community guys who are, because of the Comics Gate, who are not allowed to go to Comic Cons. That's what I was thinking. That's why I think that the BoomerCon show would be a success. So we need to talk, you and me. We need to talk about that. I'll drag you back in kicking and screaming. I will fly to Hawaii and bring you back.
But I'm not that far away.
You're not?
No.
Well, fly to Hawaii so I have an excuse to go there. Where are you? I forgot where your affidavit was signed. Like, I completely forgot what state it was.
I'm in Georgia.
You're in Georgia. Well, that's not that close. Are you anywhere near Atlanta?
Yes.
Have you ever been to Homegrown?
No, I don't think so.
Do you like biscuits?
Other than going with the Flying Biscuit place?
No, don't go to the Flying Biscuit. No, I've been to that place, and their biscuits are pretty good. But go to Homegrown. It's on like the east. It's like it's a couple miles east of downtown, mostly east, a little bit south. Right off the freeway. It looks like you're gonna get mugged when you're there, but don't worry, it's safe. Go to Homegrown. They have the best biscuits I've ever eaten. Oh my god, it's good. My mouth is like just watering right now, and I'm so sad. Okay, fine. I'll fly to Georgia. I'll take you to Homegrown, and then we'll have a discussion about this. Nathan Kish says H.P. Lovecraft, August Derleth, Clark Ashton Smith, Robert Howard of Conan fame, all great authors, and Hastur cannot be named, not Azathoth. Oops. Wait, I'm pretty sure Azathoth is not supposed to be named either, or maybe he's the Demon Sultan. Maybe that's what it was. TLJ Screwjob says Funimation watching independent VAs booked, or wanting independent VAs booked. Oh yeah, that's very interesting, because those VAs are supposed to be independent. Why is Funimation acting as their booking agent? Mr. DJ Flyhigh says, I wouldn't even consent you, Stan. How funny is Shane's idea of consent con to put safety over profit when it comes to conventions? Yeah, what do you think about that? Because you mentioned Shane's convention idea.
I'm like, how much I can't see it being.
Is enthusiastic consent con
being very fun?
I can't see it being very fun. The other thing, I'm pretty sure by the rules of his convention, he can't go. Right? Like, I'm pretty sure he can't actually be there.
Okay.
Because he wouldn't. They have rules. What are the rules? Let me see.
Oh, his rules would eliminate him from being able to attend his own damn show.
I think so. Where is it? Oh god, his SEO is so bad I can't even find it.
And it's not called what it's called by a different name, and it's not ConsentCon.
Yeah, listen. If his chair hasn't been raped, I don't know what has. So he can't go. He can't go to his own show, I'm pretty sure. SJW Slayer Leo says, Stan, you stole my idea. That's my VicCon idea, lol. Asia Fraser says, whatever happened to your dispute with Cuck Dynasty? It's been on hold. Because it's not... it was interesting until this case really heated up. And now I'm not super interested in pursuing it at this time. Ben Frail says Robert W. Chambers for the win. That's another author, I believe. Let's see. Finally, Asphyxiation says there is nothing more refreshing than going to the gym when it's 100% humidity and 45 degrees Celsius or 113 degrees in imperial measurements with no air conditioner. There's absolutely no one else there, and you look like you've just ran 3 marathons. is amazing. But there's no one to see you. If there's no one to see you, did you actually run the marathons? That's the real question. All right, man. Well, I think we're good for tonight. That's all the chats. Did you have any final thoughts, or do you want people to be able to find you, or do you want to go back to not being found? It sounds like you're not a big on the public limelight type stuff.
Well, I had my public limelight a long time ago, and particularly when the early days of AWA, where you knew who the organizers were because they were available to any attendee that came to the show.
Sure.
And in fact, the closing ceremonies after you said goodbye to your guests and stuff like that, it ended with what we call the bitch session. And
the what?
Bitch session.
Where
the attendees would tell you what you did right and what you did wrong and what they would like to see you do, and gave the attendees a sense of ownership for their show. And that's so long gone by, and it's become more of a corporate entity now.
Sure. Bubba Fest had one of those. Had the bitch session at the end. That was pretty interesting. Because again, I'm new to all this, so like seeing that play out in real time was pretty interesting. Well, man, I really appreciate you coming on and kind of telling your story, filling in some holes, and giving me more perspective on the anime industry.
There's one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
One more thing.
What do you got?
And most people don't know this, but at one time, when anime was getting big in the United States, and they were starting to license, and my company went and bid for an anime title and went up against ADV. Of course, my company lost.
Right.
And the title was Cutie Honey.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could have changed the whole trajectory of everything.
Yep.
I never watched Cutie Honey, but I always wanted to, because I was like 15 when it came out, whatever.
Yep.
But yeah. All right, man. Well, let's wrap up the stream. Did you want to tell anybody any final thing before we go? And then you don't leave yet. We'll say goodbye in private after the stream's over. But
okay.
Is there anything you wanted to say to the audience, or?
Be kind, folks. Just because a couple of my friends are arguing over something, just be kind to each other.
It's good advice. I'm not good at following that all the time, but it is good advice. The one says, what about SlutCon? Do you want to help promote SlutCon if we host it? That's where everyone is mandated to be in cosplay, and the skimpiest cosplay. And the only person there is Belle Delphine. I'm just kidding. That would probably be a very successful con. I shouldn't say that. Yeah,
I think we had something like that in Atlanta.
Well, that sounds like my buddy Drexel talks about the Atlanta Trap House, I think it's called, or whatever.
No, I think there was an actual convention like that.
Oh man, that sounds perfect. That's a convention
and all kind of stuff.
That's a convention I've been promised on Twitter for the past 6 months, and I haven't found it yet. So where is it? I've
never been to it, so I can't say.
Sure, you haven't, Stan. I believe you 100%. What about MosquitoCon? No, I'm just kidding. Now we're delving into jokes that aren't kind. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. I can't play the outro when I have a guest, so you'll have to bear with me. Yes, I will be on Twitch in about 10 to 15 minutes. Just give me a bit to set it up. Pop over there. I'll start the pre-show where you can just stare at a stream or a screen that says it's going to start, and your expectations will be let down dramatically as I bumble through Path of Exile some more. Stan, thank you for joining me. And you guys have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.